Hello people, if you're there, hang on a wee minute. Yeah, we're on. How's it going, people? Right. Shitty day, bad weather, so I thought I would just join in the, let's go live every day bandwagon. Be popular, be relevant just for the sake of it or whatever, Get to that in a wee minute. Firstly, I want to say that I just seen the Antonio Subarat's video of our good friend Timmy Osman failing at sniping a hangout and getting kicked out himself. Fucking wonderful. Let's all laugh at Timmy. Fucking great to see. I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it's Anthony P. I think I'm right. So good on you, man. Fucking brilliant. Stand up to these clowns every chance you get. Give them a taste of their own medicine. So it'll be interesting to see if young Timmy and his fucking illogical crew go away with their tail between their legs. What else have they got now? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Oh, wonderful. So good to see. Made me smile. So the sooner these people are made irrelevant, the better. Hang on, I'm just going to go and see if anybody's here. Oh, Carolyn Devons, how are you? Rambo-inator, how you doing? Switch yourself. Andrew Boyle, David Goddard, Marshall, Yorkshire Lass, Tracy, how you doing? Scott Petit, Zapper Cat, how you doing? Terra News, One and Above Productions, how you doing? Jamie Brown, how's it going? Hang on a minute. So as I say, I've got nothing to do today. I was going to get on the bike, but the weather is fucking shit as usual. So thought I would just, say hello and talk about a couple of issues. I'm going to go back again to the religious aspects of this whole thing. It was good to see Joe talking about, and making his stance clear, and realising the fluff that is attached to this whole thing and why it is absolutely no need for us to be investing in any of that nonsense. The street interview John went out with the sign, put it about in Edinburgh, which was fantastic, and you can see the reaction of people pulling their phones out and having a look instantly. Now, I raised some concerns, which obviously we do these things and you progress them as they go. It'd be a good idea if you do that to maybe have somewhere to direct people to, because as quite rightly pointed out, they might end up somewhere crazy, and looking at crazy claims and stuff. So, but again, it plants a seed and it gets people looking. We're going to do that again and employ the same thing probably and be along the street. I'm not going to say where we're going or anything. So put the sign up and then maybe along the street have another sign saying, ask us why it's flat or whatever. Just to come at a different angle. People say, oh, you're approaching people in the street and harassing them. Well, it's not the case, but just to appease those fuckers as well. We will change it up and we'll have a different approach, just to show that you can affect people in many different ways. And again, mindfulness the other day, who went to the football ground and asked people their prediction for the score, and at the end they threw in the earth's flat, or check out the earth being flat, whatever. Really good to see. So there'll be more activism coming up from us, and I encourage everybody else. It's that simple. You can make a sign and put it up somewhere. Sit back with your camera and video the reaction of people, and if you feel like it, try and maybe engage in them. You all right, babe? Yeah. I'm on live just now, so you here, are you going to be?
I don't know, I'm going to study, so
okay.
I don't know.
I see, Sean. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, thanks. Aye, so good to see. Now, I've seen this guy, Infinite Plane Society, who went in front of a panel like a council or something. Again, all activism is good. My only reservation with that is that, I don't know where that would go. Without the sway of a number of people, I don't know where it would go, or what. I don't really know what what they were setting out to achieve. But again, all activism is good, and it's really starting to take hold now, and people are grasping it. And with the elimination of absolute muppets like Osman, Timmy, no Osman, the Infinite Plane Society guy, by the way, who has a Z in the Osman. We know who we're talking about here. Him and the other illogical cronies who are here to defend a lie over the truth, and displaying themselves as an opposer to the common man's freedom. For me, these people are the scum of the fucking earth, and it's great to see them getting their comeuppance. So, I don't mind. They can still come in and try and snipe the hangout or the like. It would be great, and Antonio shared the info on how to stop sniping. But really, it's funny. It's hysterical to watch because that is all they had. And now that they don't have that, where are they going to go? So, hang on, I just need to send this to Marshall. Again, once I've spoke about what I'm going to talk about here and bring up some of these points, I will send a link out and you can have a discussion regarding the topics. The Saturday night thing's for people, but I'm going to cut the Saturday night thing down, so that we don't have people on waffling for half an hour and trying to take control of what gets spoke about and, taking up time. It's for everybody just to say hello or whatever. I'll get to some of the points that were brought up the other night, because I think it's important for people to understand this whole free man thing, being a sovereign, and what it actually means. Because you will have people trying to convince you that you can go away and get away with, being cheeky, and it's just not like that. You're not going to get money from the police either if they wrongfully arrest you. So, wait a minute. So what else have we got here? Tim ran into a brick wall. Yes, he certainly does. It was hysterical to watch. I hope he shows up in the chat so we can ridicule him. Let's all laugh at Timmy. Let's all laugh at Timmy. Na 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 na. Yeah, really good to see that. Tone Overdrive, how you doing? Vigo Stockholm. On a Plane. The Awakening. Chris Hayes. Jazzaconda still trying it in the comments in the last stream. Yeah, but that's their methods. This is what I realised right at the very beginning through the Badger groups and Facebook. That's what they depend on. That's where their kind of psychological games lie. You got to remember how the general public, somebody new coming in, is viewing these things. Now, whether people like it or not, people are swayed by what's popular. So if they see a comment with loads of likes, they're going to tend to, be swayed to that. Obviously, real critical thinkers I'm not concerned with here, but the general public, this is why they do it. If they can just throw somebody off, then they will use any tactics they can. Guys like Jazzaconda, and any of the other trolls who have been free to come on the platform and express and prove to us that it is definitely a globe, fail on every attempt, but they resort to the comment sections. You need to ask why. It's because they hope to psychologically sway and emotionally sway people by making illogical statements and barefaced lies, sending in sock accounts to like it so many times, thereby giving it, popularity, as if loads of people think this way, when in reality it's not. It's these individuals who have up to 60 sock accounts, as our friend Timothy openly admits. So they do it deliberately. And as I said before, people need to support each other in these comments. I don't have the time. I have a young kids here. I have other aspects of my life. There's thousands of comments, thousands of views now happening. It's so difficult to get through all that, moderate, remove, but for me, I just prefer to leave it up there so that these clowns can show themselves for what they are. And then people can discern that for themselves. I don't have the time, and if it's affecting you emotionally, then just disengage with these characters. look, they're not going to be, you're not going to have honest discussion with them and open dialogue. They are only there to push an agenda, regardless of what you say to them. You need to realise that. It's the same with these characters, the Timmy and his ginger friends, you know, all that, they groups of people. They are not interested in objective truth or discussion. They only want to sway people, ridicule, the usual crap. The same nonsense that we see within this whole system. And that's the problem with people. You know, for me, this is a psychopathic structure system. So you have normal people become sociopathic, trying to mould themselves and fit into a sociopathic structure, psychopathic structure. It's just not going to happen. You're going to cause yourself problems. We need to cut the Stockholm syndrome and stand up to it, as people are now showing that they can do, which is great. So, sorry, hang on. And again, you know, there's so many new channels popping up, which is fantastic. Too many to keep up with. I see so many hangouts happening now as well, which again, you know, can be good, but if you overdo it, people get too familiar. They end up doing it for the wrong reasons. I see far too many people who are interested in how many viewers they're having and, you know, or how popular they're becoming. I mean, let's not forget the situation we're in here and what's really important. I've never been interested in popularity. I'm only interested in this truth, you know, and how we get to it. And if truth is popular, then fine, but don't look to be popular just for the sake of being popular. You're going to do it a disservice. You know, hangouts every single day of the week, you know, will get tedious. People will get fed up with it. You know, and as I say, people start getting too familiar with each other. You get other complexities that start to happen, bickering, you know, and it's up to you people. I mean, you know, people can partake in it all they like. I certainly won't, because I know how these things go. That's why I've always been a loner. You know, you get involved with groups of people, they become, you know, over familiar, or they think they're familiar, and that familiarity then breeds contempt. And there's so many complex issues that come from that. You know, not a lot of people are at a level of mind where they can hold back from these silly wee agendas and egotistical problems. So I just remove myself and I don't get involved with too many groups. Not that I'm anything, I just know what I don't want to get involved in. If there was more people who didn't have these agendas, then fine, I would kind of warm to that. But, you know, I can see these problems coming already. So, sorry, you're with me. Marshall, how are you, right?
You got dude,
Right. Nice.
Everything's cool.
Cool, mate, cool. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things, and if anybody wants to come in and discuss the topics, make their point, then fair enough.
All right, dude. I'll keep dropping the ask in the chat box, mate, and we'll see how we go.
No, it's not my intention to be. You know, if it goes on for a while, it goes on for a while. But it's not my intention to be here all day. You know,
right.
I just wanted to make some points.
All right, cool, dude.
And one of my points is, as the common man starts to get traction, I predicted that, you know, the establishment, you know, whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, the government, whatever you like, they will start then actively pushing it themselves to unravel it, which I think is happening. But you need to be careful of the activism that they try and display, because it can lead you into a false sense of security. As I say, no offence to anybody, you know, all activism is great, but for me, if you're watching somebody who appears to be in front of a panel or whatever, and they say, oh, the ISS is fake, where does that log actually go? Have they got the weight of numbers behind them in order to cause an impact? Is it pressuring anybody to really look at it or whatever? You know, I don't know any of the aspects of these things. What people need to be careful of is idolising. You know, don't sit and wait. It's the same for this platform. I hope people are not sitting waiting for us to go out and be active in the streets and to affect people. You know, while you sit back in your armchair and watch. I understand that not everybody is capable of it, right? But just be careful where you're placing your attention. I know I can say with comfort that your attention being placed here is going to be secure, because I ain't no agent player. I'm only in this for truth, the objective truth, and always will be. That's what my passion is. I understand, the nature of the game. I understand how important and relevant it is for us to have that foundation, the knowing of where we are. So just be careful where you place your attention. Don't get caught up, because they will use these tactics in order to appease people, to give you the illusion that progress is happening and something is happening. But you really need to look into it and ask and question what progress is really being made here through these actions. And the same can be said for us here. If we are partaking in actions that people don't think is progressive, then we will look at it if you present it to us honestly. So, and again, I'm brought back to the religious aspects and religion involved in this. Now again, before I go into that, I'll reiterate, the whole thing. Natural science is the study of the objective reality as it is, undisturbed. It's the objective world that we all share. When we understand that, and we understand that we're focusing on the objective reality, nobody's personalities should be coming into it. If you understand that it's not an emotional question, it's not a subjective question, then you can very quickly start to weed out the players and the instigators and the dividers amongst you, because it's an objective question that requires simple tools. It requires all claims to be provable, verifiable or falsifiable. And again, no personality, no subjective emotion required within it. So when you see these people focusing on that type of stuff and focusing on speculation, you know that there's an issue there. People often ask who the players are, how do you identify them? Well, they're not going to show you their 007 badge. They're not going to show up in a tuxedo and a bow tie. They're not going to be talking like, it's 007. They're going to look like me and you, scruffy, whatever, and they're there to push out an agenda and play. That's how these operatives work. It's how they've always operated. They would never get anywhere if they stood out like a sore thumb. So their game is delicate to the untrained eye, but when you understand the overview of this whole question, you can then identify them very quickly. You also have to take into account that there is real people who are going through an emotional process, and they're just at that level of mind that they are at. But through time, they will progress. It's these characters who you see sticking to the same nonsensical stuff, the same illogical jargon, and then, maybe 6 months' time, they rehash it and they start it all up again. So when you understand that question, natural science, objective truth, we apply rationale, logic, reasoning, and again, all claims must measurable, observable, testable, repeatable. It should have scalability to it. If it's reality, you should show it in any scale. So when we know that, you can then identify these people, right, as pushers of nonsense, detractors, dividers. Okay, so, and this leads me out again to the religious aspects. And I want to be very careful here and show a bit of compassion to people towards this. And it's not that I have a bad attitude. Oh, just religion. I've said it and I'll say it again. For me, religions are dead. Religions, beliefs, faith, they are substitutes for knowing. They are results of this manipulation, as far as I'm concerned. If we had a true history, a tracing to our true origins, then none of us would have any of these religious beliefs. They would not exist. For me, they come about through fear, emotional, mental confusion. They then become comfort blankets and things for people to relate to, right? So, and I understand that, but people need to understand they are a result of this manipulation, as far as I'm concerned. If you doubt that or you think not, then let me know. Sorry. So, I get it that people need a bit of security, people need certainty. I totally understand it. People think that you're trying to remove God, whatever that means to God. I do not try and remove intelligence from this whole thing. For me, intelligence is at the forefront. Intelligence is at the roots of all existence, whatever that might be. Now, Aminus is in search of that as much as anybody else, and it hurts to watch people defending and dividing from each other, trying to, you know, cling to and give themselves confirmation bias in regards to a particular faith, religion. I really think it's totally unnecessary. It's not going to progress anywhere, you know. And as I say, if you can relate to other people who are looking for security and certainty and understanding and knowing, then join that fight. You know, let's, you know, discover together, you know, what the true fundamentals of reality are. We can achieve that if we can unite. Now, it's no unite, you know, fluffy, let's unite and love each other. We don't like each other. We have differences in our personalities, you know, our outlooks. You know, we have so many varying differences. We don't have to like each other, but we need to try and come to a common ground, you know, which is establishing where we are, who we are, and why we're here. Now, people who jump to these religions have obviously had these questions in their life, and they've settled for a substitute, which is fine. And I don't care about that, you know, but when it's brought to a public arena and it is pushed and tried to, you know, the people are trying to attach it to a subject that I'm passionate about, then I'm going to speak out about it. Right? Like, and again, the psychology, it's ridiculous for me. If I give you the analogy again of people being held captive on a group of islands their whole life, and they're given the books, the literature, they have libraries, they have all these stories and ancient texts and all these ancient stories about who they are and what went on in the past. And then they discover that, you know, the very foundation that they were told is a lie, that the islands are no part of a sphere, that there may be the possibility of something else beyond. These people are not going to resort back to the very same books and stuff that they've had all that time. They're going to look for new. They're going to explore and find out what the real truth is. Right? So, you know, my point is look, I empathise with people, real people who have that, you know, looking for that security and certainty. But what I don't empathise with is when it's brought into this subject and pushed and argued, and then I'm told that, you know, I'm trying to hide God and I'm a detractor and I'm working for Satan and all this fucking crazy stuff. Right? People need to let that go. This subject stands alone. This question stands alone. You know, and I always knew that it'd be so difficult to get it moving and get the masses involved if you have these other touchy subjects flung in with it. Right? Because it's just going to cause so much division. When you keep it simple, you keep it to, you express it to people that it is science, it's real science, and we stick purely to the facts, then you can start to affect people really quickly. You know? Especially in this day and age where science is pushed as the God, the answer to everything. So we can use that and use their tools against them. So there really is, you know, as I say, you know, I'm going to probably repeat myself here and mumble a bit, but you know, I've got these questions just the same as everybody else. You know, I have love in my heart. I want justice. You know, to think, oh, well, you know, justice will be served in some other higher realm and people will be held accountable for their actions. And, you know, nobody would love that more than me, you know, for people to be held accountable for their actions. But I have no proof that that is the case. What I witness here, the nature of this place is do as thy will. It's not a theory or, you know, something from Aleister Crowley. When these people come out with these things and these statements, for me, that is an observation of the reality that we share. It is do as thy will. And that's it. And that extends right into the animal kingdom. You know? It's not something to fear, right? It's just an acceptance of the reality that you're in. And because you accept that and you realise it, it's not automatically going to turn you into a nihilist or, you know, a demon or a devil worshipper, or whatever people want to call it. You know, it comes down again to people taking responsibility. You know, and I agree, you know, I seen a female, I can't remember the name right now, who spoke about crime and being criminal. And for me, being a criminal is pure and simple. do not impose your will upon anybody else. And that's it. You know, people should be free to express themselves and do what they like. As long as they're not coming and imposing on my free will, then there shouldn't be an issue. But what we witness these days is, you know, a serious imposition of free will and bullying tactics, because we are run by mafia. People think that there's out these groups and, you know, politicians and stuff are there to, you know, somehow help you. These are mafioso, you know. They don't care. They don't abide by what I call common law or a golden rule, you know. Well, it is their golden rule. They just do what the fuck they like. But the majority of the suffering with people, you know, comes through their ignorance. And that's it. You know, people don't take responsibility. They are subject to this because they don't understand that it's about consent. You know, and consent, you know, is internal. You know, you make the rules in here. You're telling yourself who you are, what your powers are, what your capabilities are, you know, what governs you, what you buy into, you know, what limits you, what doesn't limit you. You're the one that's creating all these rules within your own mind. Right? It's as simple as that. There is nobody running about physically wiring your brain. You need to start analysing. People need to analyse the contents of their mind and think about why they think the things that they're thinking. Why they believe certain things, why they behave in certain ways, and look at it and see if it comes from a natural source, if it's you, your choice, or whether it's influenced into you. But even if it's an influence, you still make it a rule within your own mind. Yeah. So, an example of that, in our culture, you know, you're brought up with an idea that when you're older, you'll get a job, you'll get a woman, and that what a relationship means with a woman. And then you start telling yourself what a relationship should be. And then you've set the rules up, and then you enter into a relationship and you're trying to, you know, play it out according to the rules you've made, rather than looking at it reality for what it is. And then people get disappointed, they get hurt, they get so many problems happening in their life, because they set the rules up and then they're let down by their own standards, their own rules that they set out. So rather than playing these games and taking on board your cultural programming, just look at reality for what it really is. Look at people for how they really are and how they really behave, you know, and set yourself up for that. I discussed this with Marty a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about optimism, optimists and pessimists. An optimist will be let down. A pessimist will never be let down. A pessimist will have bonuses, you know, and I think that's quite funny. You know, don't expect too much, and then, you know, analyse what you expect and analyse your beliefs and your programs. Blah blah blah. I'll probably not make too much clear sense on it. I'll do another vlog, you know, get into that in detail. But getting back to the religious aspect, as I say, you know, I do not remove intelligent design from it. I think it's preposterous for anybody to think that, you know, randomness can produce matter and life and complexity, consciousness. It's absolutely ridiculous. For me, it's design. It's intended. Now, what that intention was and where it stemmed and originated from is an ongoing investigation for me. And I just wish people would come to that ongoing investigation. It's there to be discovered. You know, when you have that option of the discovery, why would you then opt to still cling to a belief and argue and cause a division? Because somebody else who has an opposing belief is going to stand their ground, and nothing ever changes. We're supposed to be moving beyond this. I thought we had learned the lessons. It doesn't appear to me that people are learning the lessons, you know, like I'm running circles. Religion, faith, belief has absolutely no place in this question whatsoever. Right? Even if it says in your religious book, oh, the earth's flat, that's fine. It still doesn't offer anything in the way of progress. And remember, what are these books a result of? Why would you have to write these books in the first place? If we had a natural linear connection and, you know, right to the point where this place was created and put into motion or whatever. You know, you need these as substitutes when you're keeping people in confusion and fear, when you don't want them to figure out the game. You need to offer them a dummy tip. You need to offer them a comfort blanket. You know, even though it's got this, you know, contradictions in it, you can somehow iron out the contradictions as you go. And people being in such a vulnerable state will stick with it because it gives them that wee bit of security. and it becomes blind faith. It becomes so dogmatic to it that they don't want to let it go, just because of the fear, and also because they've established, you know, a repetitive pattern in their life, and they're just used to it, you know. So when I say remove religion from it, I say that with compassion in my heart. I say that with a want for justice and understanding. You know, I don't say it from a godless, devil-worshipping Satanist. You know, come on, people. You know, if you're still being affected and swayed by these claims from people, then, you know, I'm really not interested in you anyway. You know, I'm only interested in critical thinkers, people who understand the game and can step up to the plate, and let's start affecting this and start bringing this nonsense down, right? The people who are emotionally trying to cling and bring us down, I'm going to start looking at as opposers of, you know, progress. And that's the way people should start being. That's the attitude you need to start having, right? So I hope I've made it clear. You know, I have empathy in my heart, I have compassion, I have love, I have all these things, which, by the way, when you're honest with yourself, you can go inside and people can label everybody psychopath, narcissist, nihilist, you know, empath, loving, caring. You know, all these labels are part of you. If you have not got the ability to go inside yourself and recognise the nihilist, the psychopath, the empath, then you're always going to be sitting on one side of the fence, not understanding what's really going on. Right? If, you know, I'm met with psychopathy, I can bring myself to the mind of a psychopath and I can mirror it. If I'm met with empathy and love and care, I can bring myself to that and I can mirror that too. You know? Have a guest.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Dan show.
Kill
Yeah.
it, can what?
Yeah, greetings to everybody in chat. Greetings to you, Dale, to all the other guys. Greetings to Eric Dubé, if he's actually the real Eric Dubé in the chat. I just want to say thank you to you guys, to Eric Dubé, to everybody else. I was exposed to the Flat Earth truth a couple of months ago, and since like let's say the first couple of videos that I watched, including your street interview, it's like something spoke to me, you know, like deep inside. I mean, when you know the truth is truth by, you know, you can sense it with your heart or whatever. I'm a bit nervous, that's why I'm talking so much, but yeah.
That's all right.
So yeah, I was a couple of days ago, I was watching one of your podcasts, and after that, I live in a small city in Bulgaria. By the way, greetings from Bulgaria. I live in a small city in Bulgaria, and where I live exactly is very close to, let's say, to the forest. So I just wanted to go get some clean, fresh air, and I really wanted to like bring something to the table, you know, like a practical example of, you know, something which would confirm the flat Earth truth. And, you know, I don't know if it's the universe or the flat Earth or whatever, but I was looking towards the sky. It was a beautiful sunny day, not a single cloud in the sky. So I was looking, the sun was shining bright, and when I looked a little bit to the left, the moon was also up in the sky. And what made, you know, an impression on me was that the moon was not full. And so you have the sky, you have the sun over here, you have the moon over here, you're on the ground, there is no solid barrier between the two, nothing which would prevent the light from the sun to illuminate the moon fully, and the moon is not full, you know. So, I mean, that to me, at first I was like, okay, it took me a couple of moments to realize it by our knowledge of how light spreads and how it illuminates everything from a, you know how it works, you know how it spreads. So if the sun is here and the moon is here and there is no solid barrier between the two, then why is not the moon fully illuminated? Yeah. So,
good point. It was the same. It was the same here for, you know, in the last few days. It was the exact same here in this sky. And I've pointed that out to so many people before. Thanks for coming on, by the way. You know, I'll just throw that in there. I appreciate it. I know how, you know, nervous people get, and it's not an easy thing to come on and speak on camera. So I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's the same here, and you know, it's simple. You know, if I have a light source here and I have another source here that somebody is claiming is reflecting this light source, then I shouldn't have a, you know, an unlit portion if the light sources are directly opposite each other. Total nonsense, you know, and that simple observation alone debunks, you know, the nonsense that they try and tell us. So it's you know, and it was the same. You know, I have a family member who was on an aeroplane last year coming home from Portugal. They were in the night portion of the sky. You know, they're in the night sky, and she's took a photograph out the window of the sun in the distance. You know, you can see the full circle of the sun. So that is in her line of sight, but yet she is in the night portion of the sky. Now again, you know, sunlight coming from 93 million miles away. You know, they can talk about refraction and diffraction all they like, but if that light source is directly in our view, you know, you should be illuminated by it. Yeah. So again, it comes down to we don't know what the sun is, we don't know what it's made of. You know, there's so many unanswered questions, but the observations alone can tell us that there's far too many contradictions in what they're telling us. Just come back to your point. You know, that was a good point when you said you watched the video and something inside spoke to you. I heard somebody else talking about this, saying, you know, that God is the one who is waking people up. You know, now, if we can remove that word, I have pondered that before, because for me, you know, nobody directed me to the flat earth. I had a dream, I don't speak much about it, which then led me to the discovery of it. So we could look at it in different ways. You know, is there a written program within reality itself, within us, within the DNA, whatever? If certain things start to happen, we have a defence mechanism that starts to trigger us and wake us up. Is it coming from an outside source? You know, there could be so many reasons for it, but that is something that I have witnessed, you know, where people talk about it, where they were compelled to look, or when they did look, something spoke to them really strongly within, like it resonated with them. What that is, I don't know, but when people claim it's God, you know, I have to question what they mean by that, you know, this singular God, whatever they mean. I think it's a loaded term, the same as flat earth, that we, you know, we really should try and avoid. But
well, my personal there is a God. He is like the primal source, and there's like a piece of God, you know, whatever God is, in everybody. And if you look like deep down inside you, really deep down inside you, you will understand that there is nothing but love inside you. You know, hate and fear, all those are like external, let's say, emotions which are produced by external factors. But if you look really deep down inside you, you will know that you do not want to hurt anybody, you do not want to spread false information which will lead to, you know, misguiding somebody or hurting somebody in every way. So deep down inside, I believe, well, yeah, that word, I believe, but I believe that it's love, you know, it's like pure 100% love, and that is God for me. And
yeah, I kind of agree that it's, you know, there has to be a level of harmony in order to get anything created or anything done. But, you know, I would have to go back and say, for me, look deep down inside, the core of me is to be nurturing, to be caring, to be empathetic to, you know, other people. But at the same time, you know, that's me and that's my subjective, you know, experience of me. At the same time, I am aware of people who don't have that. When they look deep down inside them, they don't have that. They have something different. So, you know, what then are we claiming that, you know, different people come from a different source, which is perfectly feasible to me.
yeah, it's
you know,
possible. Of course it is.
Well, just like in, you know, any kind of breeding program, if I start to breed animals like dogs, and in particular the breed, you know, the bull terrier breed, years gone by, they would identify, you know, dogs that would bite man, and they would remove it, and then they would selectively breed until they were producing, you know, dogs who were really docile towards man, whose aggression was focused on other animals and blah blah. You know, so has that went on in the past? Is there a breeding program that's went on, you know, breeding psychopathic types of traits, and, you know, another breeding program that produced empathetic types of traits? I mean, there's so many questions. You know, I refrain from jumping in to kind of new age spirituality, and I don't mean this offensive to you, but, you know, I've heard this before. I mean, I've even got a tattoo in my back. That's how influenced I was before, you know, 15 years ago, by guys like David Icke. And the saying was, infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion. Now, my mental and emotional state at that time, that spoke to me, you know, and I get it tattooed and blah, blah, blah. But really, that's for me, you know, that's subjective to me. You know, I feel as if that's at the core of me, but there is other people who don't have that at the core of them. So then to umbrella the whole thing and say that everybody has that at the core of them, you know, I have questions for that. I don't think that's really right, you know. But I appreciate that, you know, why people see it like that.
I understand what you're saying, and by stating that I think that we all carry love deep inside of us, I don't mean that like everybody is cool and everybody is fine, and you know, everybody, you should be like, even if somebody hurts you, you should be like, you know, a friend to them or whatever. No. You get what you reap, what you sow. I'm not like a naive little monkey spreading love to everybody. You know, you reap what you sow. If you're good to me, then I'll be good to you. But from a non-egoistical, I don't know if that's a proper term, but egoistical point of view, I believe that what I carry in my heart, other people should have it within their heart. Because if I say like, if I go on saying like, oh, you know, I have love in my heart, but I'm like special and I'm the only one that has it, that's a little bit, you know, like I'm better than everybody else, you know. So that's what I would like to add to what we were just talking about, you know.
Yeah. It's again, you know, people could, just like you've just said there, you know, I read guys like Anton LaVey, who created, you know, the Church of Satan and wrote the Satanic Bible. Now, the description you just gave me of yourself, somebody could say you're a Satanist. You know, that's what happened when I read that book, and I read, you know, and realised it was a book of common sense and being responsible to yourself, being responsible to the responsible, you know, placing your affection in the right places, not turning the other cheek to people who are bringing you strife and imposing on your will. You know, and for me, if this is where we have to be, that would be the logical, you know, outlay of how we should conduct our lives. You know, but the problems we have today is that we have so much imposing on people's free will that it's causing, you know, so many criminality, you know, criminal behaviours, psychological problems, emotional problems with people. You know, and it could be very simple if people just learn to keep yourself to yourself. Don't impose on anybody else's free will. Then we would all get along a lot better and a lot easier. But we have everybody trying to control everybody else and impose what they believe and their subjective wishes onto other people, and it's causing, you know, mayhem. If somebody comes to me, even as a kid, I had that in me. If somebody tried to impose a bully upon me, I had this, you know, aggressive rage that just switched on. You know, like, fuck you. It's like a natural mechanism to anybody who's trying to do that to you, you know. But then through cultural programming, we're met with guilt and questioning yourself. Oh, you should never do that to people. You should always, you know, like them and wish them well. And, you know, but that's not realistic. You know, we have these mechanisms and these emotions that are there that we need to embrace. You know, we have them obviously for a reason. And for me, they have kept me in good ground, being true to myself and no turning the other cheek, you know. So, you know, I appreciate what you were saying there, man, you know. And that's it. You know, whatever that spark is at the base of us all, you know, I think we have that in common. But we have so many different personalities and different souls, if people want to call it that. I just think we need a more realistic assessment and look at reality. Because for me, as I said at the beginning, you know, this reality very much is do as thy will. And what I see is that the psychopathic people with lack of empathy are doing as they will, and good people are sitting back waiting for a saviour, and not taking control and taking responsibility. Well, these guys who know the game continue to carry on, you know. And for me, that's why they made a big deal about guys like Anton LaVey, because they wanted to demonise them. Because if people were going and relating to that and actually reading these books and what these guys were saying, it might empower people, and people might start taking it on board, which then becomes a threat to anybody who wants to keep you in servitude. They do not want you empowered, critical thinking and taking self-responsibility. So anybody who promotes that, they're going to label it as Satanism and evil and devil worship. You know, and I caution people to try and look past the labels, you know, and educate yourself. Have a look at content for yourself. You know, don't disregard it just because somebody told you it was nasty or evil. You know.
The fear of other people's opinion. I am, you know, well, I have begun to understand that this is one of the most powerful fears. You can be afraid of spiders, you can be afraid of snakes. Some people are not afraid of snakes, other people are afraid of crocodiles or of thunderstorms or whatever. But everybody has a fear of what the other guys are going to think about you if you do. And this is like, you know, I'm going through, let's say, I don't know if it's soul searching or whatever, but I'm looking, I have started to look within for the, you know, the real answers that I need in order to be happy in my life. Not, you know, buy this or buy that or be this guy or have a lot of money or, you know, whatever the mainstream popular culture is trying to ram down your throat. This is like all of the answers are inside of us. You know, do not look outside for, you know, what you already have inside of you. So, yeah, that fear is very powerful, and I understand it, and I'm trying to combat it. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's like an ongoing process. You know, it's not like, oh, I've read this inspirational quote and now everything is gonna be okay. No. This is like an ongoing battle, day after day.
Yeah.
But it's empowering, as you said. This is true empowerment, your personal empowerment, not some guru's empowerment.
No, it's people taking responsibility, and that internal work that you're talking about going inside. You know, for me, you know, the answers that you're talking about going inside was, you know, having to do the work every day in regards to relationships, you know, all the cultural programming that has been taken on board through the years. There's a lot of work there to sift through, to understand, to realise. But once you get through that and you remove it from your consciousness, you know, I'm left in a position now where, you know, I still don't know who we are as a whole, why we're here and where we are. Now, going inside is never going to answer that for me. Going inside helped me to remove, you know, the falsities that I'd taken on board. But now I'm at a position where I know the next step has to be establishing where I am. You know, it's like waking up with a fresh mind, you know, and saying, right, you know, let's take it from stage one. Our minds are all blank. We all come together, you know, and we're looking at each other and we go, right, who are we? You know, what's going on? The first thing I think we would have to establish is, where are we? If we can establish where we are, then, you know, for me, I think we would start to get a better picture, which would then bring about the answers to who we are and why we're here. You know, whatever the truth of that is. But I really feel strong that in order to get there, we have to establish where we are first. You know, and get into literature and history books and, you know, ancient stories and all these things. I can never relate to any of that. You know, it used to intrigue me, and I would find it interesting because I was still on the search. But really, when you analyse it enough, you go, what is it actually offering me? Nothing. It's a rabbit hole. It's a never-ending, you know, distraction. And for me, I think that's deliberate. I would love people to get to the point where we go, right, let's start a fresh slate here. Let's ditch all this nonsense and let's come together and let's, you know, unite and find where we are. And if we establish that we are stuck here, then we can move on and create a proper history, you know, and a connection to the past with people without the nonsense, you know. So.
Yeah, proper future. Let's create a proper future. Let's stop worrying about the past. Let's start living in the present and start building like a proper future for us, for the future generations. But I agree with you. I completely agree with you that we have to establish where exactly we are. And I was watching the Eddie Bravo, Eric Dubay, Cron Gracie podcast a couple of days ago. That's a brilliant podcast. Eric Dubay dropped a lot of knowledge over there, as usual. So did Cron Gracie with his personal observations. So did Eddie Bravo and the other guys. And like one of the guys over there was saying like, what does it matter for me personally? Where do I live, or if the Earth is flat, or if it's a globe? This is like, it's like the biggest lie. And this is, if this truth, if people realize this truth, that we have been lied about it, the whole system, I mean, this truth has the potential to wipe out the entire system, for me personally. Because it's going to be like a domino effect, you know? We start from the biggest lie ever, where exactly we are, and then we go from, they've lied about the moon landings, they've lied about, you know, where NASA funding goes, and from there, it has like the potential to create enough inertia in people's minds, to collapse the entire system. And like you said, we can start fresh all over again. And Cron Gracie mentioned that he was in Brazil some time ago, and he could not fathom why people over there had to be poor. You know, why there were poor people over there? Because they have such rich soil, which is capable of growing all of this food. You know, there shouldn't be people without shelter. There shouldn't be people without food on their table, etc. Poor people. And I mean, that's like, yeah, if everybody looks around and they go like, yeah, we have all this land, you know, we can build houses from renewable materials, we can farm this land, and nobody's gonna be like hungry. You know, like let's say the culture of the Aztecs or other South American tribes, at least what I have read, that food was, they didn't have money, and food was kept in like, let's say, a public storage, and you know, it was distributed freely to everybody. Why can't we have like a culture or a society which works like that? It's possible. It's absolutely possible.
Yeah, it is. It's being discouraged though. And just to, you know, reiterate the point we were saying about, you know, this understanding, you know, can bring the whole structure and the system down. It does do that, but the most important thing is that when you realise it and you do the work, it brings it down within the individual's mind. That's where it's important. If you can bring that structure down within somebody's mind, then it ceases to exist or hold any relevance in the objective reality that we share. The most important thing is dismantling the structures in people's mind. You know, and it's up to the individual to achieve that himself. You know, us going out and, you know, protesting and, you know, getting into the street, you know, that's not going to happen. That's not going to achieve anything. That's just going to keep us in the same level of mentality. It's people doing the work within that topples the structure, you know. That's it, you know.
A revolution on a personal level.
Yeah.
Let's say. Because in Bulgaria, you know, it's a wonderful country. We also have like very fertile land, etc. We have a good, let's say, geographic position, but we're still poor. Like, let's say the average salary in Bulgaria is around, let's say, 300 euros. Can you imagine that? Living 1 month with 300 euros. And there were like large protests against the government a couple of years ago, and a lot of people gathered in the capital city, and you know, it was like a lot of fireworks for a couple of days. You know, people were like, you know, they seemed to be together, but nothing in the end worked out. And for me personally, I think that not everybody who was on the square in front of the National Assembly knew in their mind 100% why he was there. You know, like why he needed to be there, why he needed to protest against this corrupt government or whatever. And this is this goes for everything, even for flat truth. It has to be a personal revolution. Before we go to the streets, everybody should know in his heart and in his mind why he's going there, why
Yeah.
this is important.
That's it. That's what I was making the point about earlier. Before we go, forcing, authority or any of these organisations to succumb to your questions, we have to have the force of the people. That is the most important thing. The common man has to have it in his heart, have it in his consciousness, has to have his intent on it, and then we can start affecting and getting somewhere. But just a random single man going and showing up, it's not going to achieve anything. It's just going to be swept under the carpet and ignored. We really need people critical, as you say, and focused in their intent and know exactly what it is they're trying to achieve. So we were discussing that the other day, me and my friend Marty. It would be easy. Why we don't have a community-orientated society? That's the way it should be. We should have a community garden, over there with tools and equipment and things that people need. People are not poor through wealth. There is people who are poor, through wealth, material gain, but people are really poor in regards to foundation and understanding, knowing who they are. That's where the real poorness comes in. That's the result. That brings about this nonsense that we live today, because people don't have that, that grounding. So there's work to be done with people, and I say it to people all the time. I've spent the majority of my life questioning every single day, going through things in my mind, pondering, analysing. These things, to ask people who have never even entered into the first realms of contemplation to grasp this whole picture is not going to happen. We need to get realistic about that. Don't get me wrong, in recent years I have seen an increased wave of people who are questioning, who know something's not right. And again, that brings me back to, where does that emanate from? Is that a built-in, security mechanism? Something maybe in the DNA or, whatever? Is it coming from an outside source? Who knows? All I know it's happening, and my responsibility is to represent the truth as best I can and to keep pushing forward. But there is certainly something going on with people.
Everybody is looking for the answers from the outside. Again, you were right that we need to take a look at what is happening on the outside. It's a critical part of our evolution, let's say. But we also need to, like you said, have a firm base of operations, let's say, that's coming from us. You cannot look for somebody else to be your guide or your hero or your savior, because then that savior is gonna get bought off, or he's gonna be like controlled opposition or whatever, and then the circle keeps on going.
We need to remove this type of mentality from people, this idolising and worshipping and looking to authority. That's part of the thing that has to go. And I've spoken about that strongly before. If you have people who are really critical in their thought, they understand rhetoric, grammar, logic, natural science. If that was prominent through your education system, then you would never have the chance to have a corrupt government. Everything that is based on the objective whole, like councils, government, they would be subject to a critical thinking populace. They would know that the populace was critical in their thought, so therefore they could never tell us a lie. Everything that's done in the public arena in regards to the whole, to everybody, should be based purely on empirical facts and nothing else. As soon as it wanders away from that, people should be ousted and removed from that position right away. If we have to be here, we still need the organisation, we still need groups of people. But the important thing is not to just remove that. We can have that, but we need the people thinking critically. The education system needs to implement things like the trivium, the liberal arts. People need proper education on how to think, how to look at reality, how to question. And that has been removed from the common man, which has then made them blind to this whole nonsense. And by doing so, they have put people in an emotional state where people judge, react from an emotional level. You look at the political arenas, the media, how they sway people. It's every party is through emotional manipulation. None of it is based on empirical facts. You know, they're just swaying people left and right, you know, through emotion. But if you have people who are operating in logic rather than emotion, and their responses are logical, then that all falls apart instantly. You know, you can't have that when you're dealing with logical people. You know.
Yeah, when thinking about education, the educational system, let's say there are like two possibilities. Let's say you're studying physics, and you can really understand the matter, and you can show the teacher that you really understand the matter, or you can like try to remember as much as you can in your mind, not really understanding anything, just say the magic words to the teacher, and he's still gonna give you a good grade. So how is this system promoting actual thought process? No, it's like parroting whatever is written in the books. And I was like, I finished my university education or whatever, and I was when I was, let's say, first grade in my higher education in the university. I thought that, you know, wow, this is gonna be like hard, and I really have to put a lot of effort into this. And when I got to it, actually, always came down to getting good grades was like making PowerPoint presentations with some bullshit information which you copy or you download from Wikipedia or whatever, and you present these neatly presented papers about some subjects, and you get like a good grade, and you don't have to make. And the scariest thing is that the teachers did not try to provoke us to actually think this was enough. This was enough for us to get our higher education, you know, and this was like one of the things that made a solid impression on me. Like, where are we going? You know, like, what are we doing?
That's the power of that, and you know how they make it even more powerful is, you know, as you say, they want you to copy and paste, but the powerful part is when they say, but put it into your own words, because then, you know, if you're putting it your own words, it reaffirms it. Oh, I'm invested in it. You know, it becomes even more true. You know, and really, it's not a truth to you. The fundamentals of education should be in the liberal arts, as I speak about many times, and I encourage people to check it out, especially the trivium. You know, if you're, you know, educating people on how to think from the very foundation, you know, that's what should come before anything. Before you start trying to, you know, offer any, you know, information to people, they first have to be critical in their thought. You have to instill that in them, but we don't see that. You know, they're telling you what to think and then repeat it. They're not teaching you how to think and then offering you information that you can then discern and assess for yourself. Information which you can then bounce off of your other, you know, classmates or whatever, who are also educated in things like rhetoric, grammar, logic, reasoning. So then when you bring something to them, they have the ability to look at it, analyse it, come back at you with, you know, flaws or contradictions. We can all assess it, we can move on, we can disregard the rubbish, and we can identify what is really true, and we can move on. But they don't have that in the education system, especially here. I can only talk about my experience. It's pretty much don't question, sit there and do what you're told and believe what you're told, and that's it. Now, that is just purely a cult, a brainwashing cult. If anybody doubts it, you know, go and look at cults. You know, any cult that's ever stood has the exact same methods. You know, but yet we look at it as, oh, it's life and it's good, and it's not. You know, you're actively partaking and putting your kids in a situation of brainwashing. Teachers are getting into these situations actively brainwashing. It might be through ignorance, it's not really intended, but their ignorance is no excuse. You know, it's time to start pressuring people who are in these positions to actually question what it is they're pushing. And guys like me and Gav are adamant that we're going to force, you know, these academics, or whatever you want to call them, into, you know, coming to the discussion and asking real questions. You know, they can try and hide, but they're not going to hide forever. You know? But
I hope you get them on air. It's gonna be a real fun podcast.
yeah,
Really.
well,
And
hopefully,
yeah, talking about the educational system, you see, like, I believe that a lot of parents, it's easier to give your child to somebody else from a very early age. We have like this. It's like a kindergarten, but for babies.
yeah.
And the idea that you give your child to somebody who you don't know how he thinks or whatever for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and they teach him whatever they teach him. You don't know what exactly they are teaching him because you're not there.
Yeah.
Then you get your kids, but like you have been working all day long and you're tired and you don't have the energy to make like an effort, and maybe you hate your job, which is also a result of bad choices or bad upbringing, and it's like a magic circle. It's like,
Well, you can see the manipulation of that. That's part of the cult methods, is to remove children from their guardians, their parents, the ones who care and love for them. And if you can achieve that over a few generations, you have dismantled the family unit, you have dismantled critical thought within people, you force people into a situation of having to go out and work, the man and the woman, just to survive, just to make ends meet. Therefore, freeing the child up, it's actually a relief for parents. You hear it, oh, I can't wait to get back to school. Because people don't have the time, they don't have the attention to get involved with their kids and get involved in activity. It's just easier for them, as you say, they're tired after a hard day's work. They just want to come home, have their dinner, vegetate on the couch, stare at the TV for an hour, go to their bed, and then get up the next day and repeat. And at the same point, your kids are away. Once they come out of school, they're then away to this club or that club or a dance club, and they're into all these different factions where they're being constantly bombarded with, societal programs, ways of thinking, how we behave, what you should fill your life with, what life's about. There's so many aspects of this whole cult that really needs to be looked at. But for me, that was a deliberate tactical ploy, was to dismantle the family unit, and take the kids away from that, and take the responsibility away from the parents.
Who can better teach you about life, like real life lessons? Who can better teach you about that than your mother and your father? Because they have an experience and they love you so much that they will not lie to you. If you and they are able to have a proper conversation and exchange information, you will be better prepared for the trials that await you in the future,
Yeah.
Because, you go to school, they tell you this and they tell you that and whatever, but, your father has and your mother have real experience, which is invaluable to you. It's like the basic lesson.
But unfortunately, many people's parents now, so many generations down the line, have been subject to the brainwashing, and they don't have that ability to guide because they don't know any better themselves. So they just perpetuate, and it keeps going in a vicious circle. And then those kids grow up with the same nonsense. They have children, then they, so it's, it'd be easy to look at an ideal scenario. In the future, that's what I would like to see was parents taking responsibility back. But unfortunately, we're maybe 6 generations down the line of this intense programming, and people are in such confusion that not everybody's going to guide or share a real experience that's going to really benefit anybody. What can the last few generations really share in regards of experience? Oh, I've had success at a job. Oh, I've had, it's experiences that are based on a false creation in the first place. That's the problem. Nobody has proper grounding. Nobody knows the objective truth. So what can we really teach the kids? Nothing. The only thing I can teach my kids is how to be critical in their thought, how to discern and how to analyse and look at, you know, what's being brought to them. You know, I can't offer them anything in regards to this is how we should behave and this is what life's about and this is where we're going, this is where we've been, because I don't have any proof for any of that. And we do tell lies to our kids. People are telling lies to their kids every day and they don't even realise they're telling them lies. You know? I mean, we tell kids lies from a very young age, and people can say, oh, it's just innocent. But if you tell your kid that fucking Santa Claus is a real guy who comes down the chimney giving them fucking presents, you're setting their mindset up to accept that lies are okay, that there is a place for it, when really there isn't a place. You know, let's just deal with reality for what it really is and stop wrapping kids in cotton wool. You know, give them to it exactly how it is and let them, you know, evolve for that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, in order to, you know, to understand what is actually going on, you have to take like a step back and try to separate yourself as much as you can from the system. You know, I'm not saying like become a hermit, go into the mountain. Well, actually, that is going to be beneficial too, I think. But you know, you have to remove yourself from the system, because a couple of months ago, I was working in a transport company. I was a dispatch, and I was working. I had 12 drivers, and I was working with them. You know, giving them tasks or whatever, monitoring what everybody's doing, and you know, I had a company phone. This company phone was with me for the entire day. I got like calls late at night and early in the morning. Basically, I was living my job. I was actually living my job, and it was like this constant, like day after day after day. Time passes so fast, and you know, you kind of lose track of it all. You know, you lose track of yourself, of your personal, you know, dreams or whatever. So I said, like, fuck it. This doesn't make me happy. I'm done with it. I quit. And to be honest, I really believe that I'm a better person for it now, you know.
Yeah. That's the problem. You know, we get stuck in repetition and we get into bad habits, and nobody's really living their dream or fulfilling their potential, their creative spark. You know, none of that's happening. And I think that's what's really getting to people. That was something I realised a long time ago. You know, was this it laid out for me? You know, never ending chasing my tail for money just to survive. You know, that's just, that can't be all there is. But again, I can look back at the deliberate attempts to suppress creativity and that curiosity within people. I think that had to be important. You know, because you can't have people again being critical and then having that explorer type mindset, and being free to express. And you know, we've seen it. Look at the amount of people who have created or invented great, wonderful things that would be beneficial to us all, but it's deliberately kept back. You know, that alone should be, you know, alarm bells ringing for people. You know, why are we not, you know, pursuing an avenue of the benefit of the whole? You know, and living in a city doesn't have to be a bad thing. I quite like cities. It's the mindset of people that's a problem for me. You know, the cities in themselves are not really a bad thing. Some people like to live together and have that type of lifestyle. And some people like to be loners, go out into the countryside. It's not really, you know, the setup of the matter. You know, it's the state of mind that people are in that's a problem for me. You know, if people can just flip their attitude differently, then things would change.
Yeah, when talking about cities, right now, I don't know if I can turn the camera around, but I'm looking at a Soviet era apartment building, which is about 7 stories high. It has like, let's say, 3 entrances, and you have like, I don't know, 200, 300 people living in a very confined area. And I personally don't think that this is like normal. And because when you're living in such a cramped space, you always have to think about somebody else, you know, like this intensifies the fear of other people's opinions. I mean, when you're not free to turn the volume up in your own house, or, you know, walk around naked or whatever example you might want. I mean, this suppresses the spirit, you know, I believe, the human spirit, the spirit of expression, or it's not normal, man. Personally.
I totally agree. There is so many, and again, it's based on the level of mind people are at. But I touched on it earlier, there's so many complexities to living life like that. And one of the main problems, especially in a high-rise tower block, is that familiarity, you know, the false familiarity that people start to have. And then that familiarity breeds a contempt where people think they know each other, they get familiar with each other's habits, bad habits, good habits, and they all start, you know, bickering with each other, and it causes so many problems. So I quite agree. Again, you know, confined spaces, I don't think that's the way it should be. I think we can do a lot better than that. Aye, but you know, again, it comes down to the attitude and the mindset of people. You know, if people could live in a high-rise flat in peace, if people had the right, you know, type of mindset, but still,
very good sound insulation, you know. So.
Yeah. There's so much, you know, it's so disappointing. You look at it and you say, you know that people have the potential for this to be a wonderful place. If this is where we have to be, you know, my vision would be, you know, I would walk out into the street and it would just be colour and expression everywhere. Everywhere you go would be an expression of individuality, but we don't. We see conformity everywhere. The same colour of buildings, the same fences, the same, you know, there is no free expression within people. And again, I think it's because there's a certain standard that's put out as the norm, and then people try and control each other to that norm, which again is why people are scared to express themselves through fear of ridicule. You know, but if we can make the norm that it's just free expression and encouraging individuality, then people would never have the fear of expressing themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to people breaking through the fear barriers. You see it with people who do just express themselves, you know, and ignore ridicule and whatever. They just go on with it and they're content within themselves. A lot of the time, the fear is just, people are more scared of the fear, the idea itself, than actually going out and trying to achieve these things. Do you know what I mean? They limit themselves because they think it's going to be something more than it actually is. And if you can push through the fear and overcome it, and then just express yourself, you will see people who will want you, who will give you encouragement and support you, and it will be a minority of people who want to hold you back, pull you down, ridicule you, you know, and make you feel that fear. For me, it is a minority, you know.
It's like this duality, you know. Let's say I have like an idea of something that I would like to do, and when thinking about it, purely thinking about it, it's like it brings joy, you know. This let's say this idea brings joy to my mind. But after a small period of time, I start thinking about, you know, what if I fail? You know, what if I fail? What's gonna happen? What are other people gonna think about me if I do this? If I spend all my resources into something which is not gonna be successful? And it's like, you know, you really have to break the fear barrier, as you were saying.
Yeah. The fear holds people back in so many aspects, and really, if you just try and you push through even a little bit, you realise that the fear you had created in your own mind, you had given more significance than what the reality actually is. Your reality is never the same as what you think it's going to be in your mind, you know. But that self-governance is exactly what they want. They want people to govern themselves like that and to have doubt within themselves rather than being empowered and confident, you know.
Yeah.
But again, it's just a result of this structure that's been put in place. When you have a minority who thrive within it, and the majority don't, because the majority of people are no psychopathic in their nature. The majority of people are empathetic. They're community orientated. They want praise for helping others. They want to help others get on. They want to benefit other people. You know, I'm speaking for me, but my experience, I know that's at the core of the majority of people I meet. You know? But we have this minority who has convinced us that they are the minority, the majority. You know, when the reality is the total opposite. They are insignificant in comparison to the common man, the man who has empathy, compassion, nurture, care at his heart, you know.
And when we were talking about these inventions that can benefit the whole of humanity, why do you think that most new technology is first introduced, in the military, or like for military use? Internet was, I believe, at least that's what they say, that internet was like developed for military purposes. It wasn't developed for like spreading information and whatnot. So everything this elite always looks from the militaristic point of view. How is this going to benefit the military? Better to kill each other.
Yeah, that's it. Then they give a slow release. It's the same with the TV and stuff. People think, oh, it's just a guy who randomly discovered. No, I don't think so. I think it was an active, how do we get a device after radio waves? We can go one step further and actually have image. Oh, great. Right, let's devise this box that we can have right in people's homes, and then we have the opportunity to dictate and propagandize whatever we like. It's a weapon, and especially in the West, it's being used as a weapon. Again, the TV is not necessarily a bad thing. What it's being used for is a bad thing.
And talking about these boxes, I don't know if you've probably heard about the Xbox and the PlayStation and whatnot. These game consoles that you play FIFA on, or whatever. And they started introducing these add-ons to these gaming platforms, like the Xbox Kinect or whatever. And basically, they're like a high-tech camera, which they say that in order for it to work, you must have constant internet connection. And when I heard this for the first time, and actually a lot of people, there was an outrage, because they made the connection to, okay, so there's a camera in my living room, which is actually like, I don't know if it's like thermal capability, but it's always on. Yeah. And in order for it to work, it requires a constant internet connection. So, that's like a red flag for me, and for a lot of people.
Yeah. Sorry.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, though, it can be used for the benefit of people rather than to suppress and, keep people in control. So, the television and these things are not necessarily bad. It's the message that they push across through these devices that's the issue for me, Aye. That reminds me, I don't know if anybody's aware, you're just talking about game apps. I don't know if, Patricia or Mark Sargent's about, but my partner, she plays like puzzle games on her iPad, and she went to the App Store, for games, and there was Patricia Steer and Mark Sargent, I think somebody else there. So I don't know if they've got a game out, I don't know what that's about, if anybody knows anything about it. It was quite interesting to see them appear up on a game app store,
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that. I mean, what about the App Store? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the news. I don't know if, let's say, Bulgarian news. There's like this small presentation which is just about when the news are about to start. They run this like small movie of let's say current events or whatever, and it's always people carrying guns and space shuttles and the globe or whatever. It's like now it's starting to make a lot more sense than it used to before. They're always starting with the worst news possible. How many people died in road accidents, but they don't talk about why these accidents happen. About the war somewhere, or like, people dying, or children with diseases or whatever. And, you're sitting at home, eating your lunch or your dinner, and your mind, when you're eating because you're feeling good, I believe is more susceptible to all of this information. And you're eating your dinner, and they're spreading this like fear and, only bad emotions. So,
yeah, so it's all fear-based. It's meant to be objective, the news. Again, it's just another example of why things are not based on the objective truths. That's just a propaganda machine aimed at purely that, keeping people in fear, because there is no balance. It's just all doom and gloom. When we know that our lives don't consist of doom and gloom every moment, every day, you know, so there's no balance. So right away you can see that it's not about any objective truth. It's purely propaganda to keep you in fear, to portray the world in a certain way, you know, to keep you in that mindset. It's very simple. You know, it's clear for people like us to see because we are so far along the path. But in my experience, I've had people saying ridiculous statements to me like, "Oh, it's the news; they can't lie." You know, it's the news. The news can't tell you lies, and you know that shows you the level that people are at. They've just taken this assumption that everything's based on, you know, the benefit of people, and people are good at heart, and the news is offering me truth, and you know, and you go, wow, you know, that's what I'm talking about. How do we get these people to turn from that type of attitude, because they are so deep into the cult programming. That some of them seem to me to be beyond help, you know. But
it's almost as if people like to see other people not doing as well as they are doing, you know, and that gives them a false sense of security or whatever. I don't know, because there are a lot of shows, actually shows, which run in Bulgarian television, which are just for like family drama, you know, like bullshit drama. Some the father is an alcoholic, or the daughter is sleeping with the entire neighborhood, and they don't have money. It's like all this bullshit, and I'm like talking to my parents. I'm like talking to them. Why are you watching this?
It's to bring apathy to people. It's so that they can, you know, people are in their mind. The message from that is, look, your life's not that bad. Look how bad it could be. So just accept what you've got and get on with it. You know, it's all that, you know, trickery in order to affect people. So simple.
That's crazy, but I've actually started talking about flat Earth with a couple of my friends. One of them, you know, had it wasn't a violent, but it was a emotionally violent reaction to what I was trying to tell him. Maybe because, you know, we've been friends for our entire life. Maybe I think that he has like an opinion that I'm like a good guy, you know, like my mind is at the right place or whatever. And when I started talking about flat Earth to him, he was like, "You're crazy. I mean, how can a normal person like you start talking about stuff like that?" And he almost kicked me out of his house. And I'm like, okay, so this might be a cognitive dissonance, you know, like an example of that in real life, you know, because
that's the controlling people, that people don't realise they have that type of controlling personality within them. It's because they are comfortable in their delusion, and when a friend, somebody they know, then questions that or changes, it makes them feel insecure, because then they would maybe have to question and have a look at it when they're just quite comfortable and happy within their delusion. So it causes that emotional reaction, you know. So I could totally empathise and relate to what you're saying with that. I think many people have experienced that, you know. But it's just part of breaking cult programming, you know. That's what's going to happen, you know. You tell anybody a lie long enough, and then they find out that, you know, it is a lie. They always have that emotional reaction. And at any level, whether it was that you found out Santa Claus wasn't real, or you find out that your partner's been sleeping with somebody else, or, you know, being, you know, bad in some aspect, but you know, it's the exact same thing. People just like to be, people don't want upset. They want certainty, they want comfort. So as soon as you start to threaten that, you know, then you're going to get a bit of that reaction, you know. But it's fine that people can fall into that as long as it's based on truth, you know, and then you would never have the worry of that reaction. You can be secure knowing that what you know is actually factual, you know. But I was going to ask, how is the landscape over there in regards to people becoming aware of the whole question?
Well, I don't think that, at least in my circle, I don't think that a lot of people are even aware that there is like evidence which suggests and actually proves that what we're living on is not a globe. You know, I don't think that it's as wide. Well, I don't know how widespread it is, globally, but around here, people are too focused on, basically surviving and having food on their table.
Yeah.
So it's not as widespread as in maybe other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's understandable, as you say, because people are so focused on surviving and getting from one moment to the next. They don't have time to contemplate these things. That's where, people like us are a bit more privileged, where we have that time to contemplate. Although I've had many hardships in my life, it's still not an excuse. I still questioned and kept on questioning, even when I was in survival mode, living from moment to moment. I was still asking the questions. So I think that it will be prominent within people. I don't think there's many people alive who have never asked themselves, who am I, why am I here, where am I, what's it all about? I think that's in many people's consciousness. But going back to the news thing, I think when I was talking about how subservient people are to it and believing that things like the news tell you the truth, that's another good aspect of this whole thing. If people then become aware that institutions like NASA have been telling lies and it's been promoted by these branches, and they see how big that lie is, that would trigger them into a state of mind of, wait a minute, I'm not going to believe anything anybody tells me from now on, which can only be good. The sooner people stop believing and taking things on faith and through ignorance, the better.
I just hope it's enough, because the beginning of the stream, I believe that you are talking about the establishment slowly promoting the flat Earth truth, themselves, in order to maybe pacify the possible outburst of rage of people, or and I hope that doesn't happen, because if that happens, I don't know what else is gonna wake us up, really. But
well, they know, as I say, they know that they can play to that, because people want security, comfort, certainty. So if you can build people up into a frenzy, and then offer them, your solution or your next revelation, then you might just have a chance at keeping control of people. They're going to have to, if they want to keep control. The globe is over, and I'm sure that the ones at the top of the manipulation are smart enough to realise that it's over. If I can realise that, then you can bet your ass that they know it. So what's their plan? And for me, I have suspicions about why they push the whole religious aspect, and maybe going for a fallback position. If they can unite people, because remember, if people are aware of one government, one religion, how are they going to achieve that? If you can show people that these evil entities have been lying to us, we really are, united under God's kingdom. We need to pull together. We need, then you can bring people into a false paradigm that way. That's what my concern is. I hope that is not what happens, and that people don't accept any more of the bollocks. That's why I think it's important for people to understand critical thought, how to discern, look at information, and analyse, the intent behind people and what they're telling you. That's where the crucial parts lie for me. It's giving the individual that empowerment and level of understanding, so that manipulators don't stand a chance. But if the majority of people are still in that same mindset, reacting from emotion, then there's a good chance that they could sway people into a new paradigm and keep it alive.
Yeah. They'll probably throw some people under the bus. When it happens. NASA is not going to be, it's not going to make it, but I hope that doesn't happen. I really do.
Well, that's the simple way out, isn't it? If you are, say, a president, I've just discovered this. We were subject to these lies the same as everybody else. You can't blame us for believing it.
Trust me.
Yeah, that's it. And as you say, throw NASA under the bus. Take them to court, point the finger at them, give everybody their hanging in the street, and then everybody will be appeased by that, and then we can move on. So, that's the way I can see it unfolding. I think that's what's happening. I think that's why deliberately things like bubbles in space and bendy doors and wires, I think these things were let out deliberately, because you know, if you're trying to really keep that lie going, you would be meticulous on, you know, letting these things out. None of these things would ever came into the public arena, but they have far too easily for me. So you have to ask why, you know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Keep on spreading the truth, and we'll see how it all unfolds.
What's up, man? Right.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's no, you know, too many people go into doom and gloom. You know, I say we a bit of anger and a bit of passion that I'm pissed off or being lied to and blah blah blah. But at the same time, internally, I'm enjoying the journey. It's exciting. It's enthralling. The possibility of real discovery, real exploration. That's so exciting to me. You know, and my impatience and annoyance comes because I want that. I want us all to get to that level where we can expand and find out more. You know, and I can see that happening. But you need to package it to people that it is exciting and that it's no doom and gloom. There's far too much of that, you know, apocalyptic type scenarios and, you know, end games and stuff like that. You know, it doesn't have to be like that. People just need to switch on, have a different attitude, and then we can all have a laugh about it, you know, and have a good time experiencing it and having the exploration. You know what I mean?
I mean, since I was exposed to the flat earth truth, I mean, I've been happier myself because I know for myself that we're not living on a globe. You know, this is not an accident. We didn't evolve from monkeys. I mean, I didn't believe in the whole evolutionary theory even before the flat earth truth. You know, I never believed in that.
No.
But it really is exciting, the possibility of more land, of actually finding all answers to all the questions that matter to every individual. It really is exciting. So no matter what happens, exciting times for sure.
That's it. You know, what's more exciting? You know, proper real experience and discovery, or having a brand new BMW. I mean, I think it just depends on the individual. Personally, I would like both, but you know, it is really exciting. There is nothing more that could substitute for me as that experience of that true discovery. You know, regards to evolution, I just want to put this in there. I was the exact same. You know, that was part of my process of arriving at this point, was through the whole evolution thing. And I knew it was full of religious aspects and unprovable things, but I think there's aspects of it that hold truth. I think like adaptation, you know, things like that are provable, that actually do happen, that are, you know, part of our experience. But, you know, breeding two types or two, you know, two dogs, you're never going to produce a snake or a fucking fish. Or, you know, these aspects of it are absolute nonsense. You can see that that's purely, you know, a religious materialist stance, you know, trying to bring everything into that explanation, and they've you know, brought that story about through observations of adaptation, and then they have just taken it and extrapolated it into, you know, a fantasy land. But I just don't want people to disregard all these things, because remember, you know, there will be certain aspects of truth and things that, you know, they've pushed. And for me, you know, adaptation in regards to evolution is certainly something that happens. But, you know, no, as I explained, you know, two horses don't produce a fucking wheel, you know, and you can breed them for 1 billion years if you like, you're still never going to produce anything but two horses, you know?
Yeah, they've probably tried.
Yeah. 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 But again, it's all part of the disempowering, you know, taking your power away from you. You're insignificant, you're nothing, you know, you involved, there's no real rhyme or reason to it, you're no special, there's nothing to find out, you know, you're just a blip. So enjoy your time as a blip and get on with it, you know, it's just part of the mechanisms. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm gonna be going now. So thank you for allowing me to, you know, express what I needed to express with some like-minded people, and keep on doing the street interviews. I don't know. Maybe I'll get enough courage to start doing it over here in Bulgaria, and I'll make sure to drop a link with, like a proper description and translation of what exactly I'm saying. And yeah.
You don't. People don't have to, partake in the interviews the way I done it. That's just my journey. As we've seen, other people have different methods. Hanging a sign, Google Flat Earth or go to this channel. Just putting seeds out there within your society is good enough. But again, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure. You're welcome to come anytime. That's what this platform's for. Especially these live things. It's for real people just to come and express themselves, to let us know you're there, and to share your experience. So I can only thank you for that, man.
Yeah, thank you. If I have like more natural observations that I want to share, like the sun and the moon, and the moon not being fully illuminated without anything between them, I'll make sure to leave a comment, or if possible, come on live. And
yeah.
So thank you. Good luck to you, and see you around.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Pleasure. Take it easy, bud. Thank you. Nice lad. It's good to see it reaching other places. I think that's the first person I've spoken to from Bulgaria. So, see what's happening in the chat. Marshall, how's things?
I've got one link out to Andy Boyle, who hasn't responded, so I don't know whether people get a bit impatient and then drop out or whatever.
Right.
But other than that, I don't think anybody's up for a chat this afternoon, dude.
Cool. Well, it doesn't matter, for me. It was just for me to have something to do in the afternoon, and it was great having a chat there. So I'll see what's going on in the chat box. If nobody's coming in, I'll ramble for a wee bit, and hang about, see what's happening. Super Spurs scheme will be under my card. What do you think about Scottish Freemasonry? For me, I think any clique of men, women who separate themselves from the rest of society and think they have some other privilege over other people, I think it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. I'm not interested in secret groups or weak individuals coming together to have a wee clique, and no, it's not for me. Each to their own. But when we start establishing these things and it has an influence on the greater or on the whole, then for me it's a fucking problem. It's fine if it is kept for people's own private indulgence, and that's what they want to get up to. But if it's having a sway or an effect in any way on the objective whole, then it shouldn't be there. Everything to do with the objective world and us as a whole should be kept purely transparent and based always on empirical facts. So that's what I think about it. And again, no all Freemasons or whatever, these minds, whatever the source of this manipulation is, will hide behind any distraction. They will hide behind Jew, Catholic, Protestant, black, white, Muslim, Freemason, whatever. They will use anything to operate. They'll put their fingers in every pie to have a sway wherever they can. So I don't buy into it's this faction or that faction. It's a certain mindset for me. And if you understand that, then you can start to weed them out. If they're no for, as I just explained, the greater good for the whole, things being transparent, all community things like, politics or any of these establishments or organisations that we put in place should be based always on empirical facts. And if they sway for that, remove them. The way it probably always should have been, the way I can see it had been set out, but along the line, corruption get the better of people. So we need to have mechanisms. If we have to be here, that is, we have to have mechanisms in order to out that and to recognise it when it's happening and to remove it with ease. Right, so that they're not there for 4 years or 2 years until the next. If they walk away or they move from what's set out, they're removed instantly within a very short space of time. Vigo isn't a show. John Borg, any reason why we don't get notified when the live chats are happening? I'm getting so many comments and messages from people who are saying they have been unsubscribed. Marty pointed out that when you subscribe to the channel, it offers you the option, the wee bell will come up, I think, with a blue caption saying, would you like to be notified? I think you need to click that. I don't know if it was something that was implemented. You know, I remember YouTube, maybe just my ignorance, that I thought once I had subscribed to a channel, I was automatically going to get a notification of when they uploaded something, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So we know that they're messing with us, the comms, the numbers, you know, unsubbing people. It's so obvious. David Leeds, UK watcher, hello, all tuned in and ready to learn. So are we all. We're all ready to learn where we are, who we are, why we're here. Andy Borthwick, Captain Dale, hope you're well, pal. I'm Andy, thanks man, I hope you're well. Still need to get that jam happening at some point. So weird not having a spanner. Been taking pics, don't know who you are. Aye, Turbo Teabag saying it, John Borg, click on the little bell, but the subscribe button. Maggie May, you're fighting windmills. I find tremendous aggression even when faced with logic and common sense. But that's it, and that comes down to you. You then have to have the ability to stand there and still be humble, not to, you know, let your emotions show or react. They just keep sticking to the logic and remain calm. And eventually they'll become aware of that and realise that they're going to make themselves look ridiculous if they keep it up. And the majority of people will de-escalate themselves when they realise that you're not rising to it. So there comes a bit of self-discipline there. I've felt it a few times, you know, when you're out in the street and you see a certain kind of snigger or remark, your reactions, you can feel it coming, like, you know, don't fucking snigger at me, you know, but you have to hold it, point it out, you know, look, your snigger and your body language is no adding to the discussion. It's not even, you know, anything logical. If you can remain calm and express that to them, you'll see them, as I say, de-escalate themselves, because they realise that, you know, you're not going to emotionally react, and you have the ability to still stand there and logically put it across. Jonah Worms, how are you? YouTube has a mind of its own, and well, it appears so. You know, whether it's a mind of its own or it's directed, you know, it's obviously directed. Greg T, I am a shill. Ramboinator, religions are cancer of the mind. Yeah, I feel very strongly about that. I totally agree. Belief, faith, religions, these types of things that request you to have belief and faith, they are mind viruses. I don't even think it should be in a human's mind to ever take something on a belief. I think that's a huge part of the manipulation, is to, you know, bring that in, that it's acceptable to have beliefs and faith and things that you can never prove for yourself. You know, it's part of the mental illness. Link will be available by request to nocurve@gmx.com. If nobody's taken up on the offer, I'm going to ramble for maybe 10 minutes and then I'm going to call it a day. But my main point was, you know, get back to that about the religions and these aspects. You know, speculation and hypotheses and wild theory should not be, you know, involved in this. It should never have been involved in science in the first place. But they knew how powerful real science is, so they had to infiltrate it. They had to take control of it, bastardise it and twist it and turn it into something else. You know, and that's why we have such problems with people. And again, that's part of the, if you're discussing with people, I've seen these radio interviews, some guy calling on a live radio show or whatever, you know, and for me, I always get irritated and annoyed because they don't feel as if they're representing it properly. if you're entering into a discussion, if you happen to go on a radio show or anything like that, remind people right away from the off that, you know, flat earth is not some cartoon image, and that the main focus should be on the claim, and that is where the burden is. You know, if people are going on radio stations, you should be going on with the mind that you're attacking the globe to dismantle it. You should be on there saying, listen, I don't know where I am, you know, but I know that it's not what they're telling me, and here's why. Here's the facts of why. You know, no letting them dictate the conversation and pull you into straw men and illogical jargon and nonsense. So I get a wee bit fucking annoyed when I see these things, and, you know, people don't do that. You know, I have to appreciate, again, that people are at different levels, but I think it's highly irresponsible for people to jump in, go on a radio show when they don't really know how to represent the truth of the situation. You know, hold back for that. If you know there's an opportunity, get a hold of somebody that you know will do it justice and put them up for it. Spurs chemo beyond the imaginary curve. When will we see you on the Patricia Steer show? Yeah, you'll not see me on anybody's show. You know, as I said before, everybody's free to put their platform out, their stall out, and everybody is entitled to be who they are, set up their stall and do what they do. You know, I don't go about associating, I never have. You know, I set my stall out, you know, I've presented my message where I see it, and that's all I can do. I've spoken about this before. The detractors, the dividers, when we start, you know, partaking in these things, they're going to use it against you. And there was so much drama and hype going on with certain individuals and certain channels that it was best for me just to stay away. But, you know, again, I respect everybody who sets about to dismantle the lie, to highlight the lie. And again, you know, I respect their right to exist just the same as me. You know, no catch me ever again, you know, partaking and bitching about people or mentioning their names. I've never had to do that. If you understand the game, you can look at them and you can decipher from their content what their intentions are. You know, and that's where you need to get to. You know, as I say, it's a total waste of time, and it's going to be confusing for people if there's people sitting pointing the finger at each other and accusing each other of stuff. That's just not the mentality that we need. You know, you need people discerning themselves by having the ability to look at the content and then, as I say, to recognise the intent behind people. You know, it's easy for me to see that. That's why I say, you know, let go of the fluff. Look at the people and look at the fluff that they offer. Look at the confusion that they offer, and how they perpetuate the confusion. Right? Because as I say, the facts are simple. It's not a fucking globe. We can prove that. The reality of the situation is we don't know where we are. So how much more simple can it be? You know, the rest of it is just added on fluff. To entertain, to distract, to divide, to get your attention, to keep somebody relevant, to keep them popular. You know, that's why, you know, for 2 years it's just the same rehashed stuff over and over and over again. Because there's so many people who, you know, have sold to their ego, they're lost, they don't really know the direction that they're going in, they think they're making a difference or that it's progressive in some way, when it really, for me, it's not. Huh? So, yeah, man, want to know who God is? Take a look in the mirror. Yeah, that's something I've always contemplated. You know, people can see, oh, your attitude, you think you're a god. You know, no. No, well, we don't know the reality of the situation. We could be eternal souls partaking in a fucking technology with equal power to everybody. You know, immortal, invincible. You know, the same powers as everybody else, and this is just a technology that we choose to partake in. You know, so I could say I'm a god, and it's a much better mindset. You know, it's different if you're conceited and arrogant and ignorant and full of yourself. But to say to yourself, no, I am the god. I am control of this contraption, this brain. That is my responsibility. I can overrule it. I can override it. Therefore, really, when it comes to an individual level, you're God. There is nobody ruling you apart from yourself. So, But that statement in itself, as I say, gets jumped on, and you know, they automatically generalise and assume that you're arrogant and up yourself and full of yourself, when it's not the case. It's a healthy state of mind to take responsibility. You know, as I say, this machine that you're operating, you know, you are God. Nothing's going to happen without your consciousness. Without your intent, nothing happens. The body has its own program. It can regulate blood flow, heartbeat, temperature. But without your consciousness and your participation, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to lie there. So, you are God of yourself. Fry Prezi, Dale, if you have time one day, then take a look about my works and theories about earthquakes. I know you like natural science, so you might find my works interesting. I certainly will, Fry Prezi. I'll take a look at that. Anything that you think would be relevant, you know, don't hesitate to let us know, you know, something specific to have a look at. All earth equals religion, Samuel Hall, it certainly does. Atheism equals religion. Well, you know, this is the whole thing about, there's so many misunderstandings of atheism. And what it actually means. If you were offering me any of these gods that are on the table, then I would be an atheist in regards to these gods that are being offered to me, you know, by books and cultures and you know, different walks of life. Then I would be an atheist towards that, you know. But as again, I'll reiterate, you know, it's preposterous for me to think that all this came about without mind, without intent, without design. That had to have that at the root of it. And for me, the root of existence has to be mind, whatever that is. Super Skimmo, Beyond the Magic Cover, you reading the chat? I certainly am. I'm reading it right now. You have my attention.
Dude, you're about 3/4 of an hour behind as far as the chat's concerned.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's cool. Most people are still here, so the comments are your responses are relevant.
Cool. I'm just going to keep scrolling through them. I'll read another couple and I'll scroll down to what's happening right now. Maggie May, belief in a creator doesn't lessen the intelligence of a person. It certainly does not. You know, people, as I say, you know, I believe in creation, mind being at the forefront. The problem is when people come forward pushing it as a fact or wanting other people to believe what they believe, or, you know, it doesn't lessen your intelligence at all. None at all. I think it's very intelligent to realise, you know, logically, rationally, that nothing happens without intent. You know, this complexity that we experience right now, you know, the explanations of randomness are just nonsensical and ignorant. You know, considering we don't have any practical example of any of that stuff ever happening. You know, technology doesn't spontaneously appear from nowhere. It has to be intended, it has to be invented, created, designed. So, I'll just skip to the bottom and see where I'm happening here. Oh, I think I froze. You just need to bear with me a wee minute, the screen's frozen. Oh.
We got Lenny Harris asked if we can sort of point out that the Edinburgh Corn Exchange on Sundays having a vegan festival for anybody who's of that persuasion.
There you go, you've just done it, so no need for me to repeat. Stoned Harry, get my last on Dell on the brain. I don't understand what that means.
Promoting his own content by the sound of it. I have to go take a look.
Cool. Learn how to forest, Dell, DMT and ayahuasca. taking many psychedelics, LSD, mushrooms, stuff like that. They had profound effects on me at that time, level of mind that I was at. So, you know, I've only get praise for them in the right place. You know, people can take them recreationally, like just for fun. For me, I realised that there was certainly a psychological benefit, emotional benefit to it. You know, what's actually going on? I mean, who knows? Is it connecting you to truer reality? Who knows? I've pondered that idea. You know, when I used to take magic mushrooms or LSD, I used to think to myself, am I seeing reality in a much clearer focus here? And when I'm becoming straight, you know, my focus is lessened, where I'm only, you know, experiencing this band. Who knows? You know, I don't really know, you know, what you want to know about DMT and ayahuasca. I think, again, it's up to the individual to discern the reasons for why they would be partaking in it, what they were looking for from it. For me, I was never looking at anything from it. I just, you know, I was a lost, confused soul like everybody else, and it was part of the thing and fun to do, and let's take it for fun. It just so happened that my experience of it, you know, showed me that it has profound, you know, applications to it, especially, you know, psychedelics like magic mushrooms, liberty caps here, psilocybin. But I've also experienced where I'm taking it for the wrong reasons, in the wrong frame of mind, and had a hellier time. So it just depends. I don't really know what you want to know about it, to be honest with you. Maybe you can elaborate a wee bit. Vambo DMT is a mind reset. I think there's an aspect to that for other psychedelics, to be honest with you. It certainly helps to give clarity on certain aspects of your life. But for me, you know, I'm not in requirement of it anymore. It just brings more questions to me, especially DMT. When, you know, I listen to people's stories and you end up pondering and thinking, is it reality? Is it just a manufactured part of the brain? You know, people meet beings, they have profound experiences. What's actually going on, the science behind it, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think it needs much more study. Nigel Groves, hi Dale, what's your view on thoughts, feelings and emotions and their influence on deriving intent? Depends. I mean, what was your natural intent? What was, you know, I look at kids, I look at myself, I look at my kids, what is their intent? Their intent really just seems to be to explore, to look at new things, to move from one point to the next. I think culture, you know, family units, there's loads of influence that can have a sway and an effect on where that intent then switches to, because their intent can be switched to a delusion, you know, and their intent on achieving a delusion, or again, it's another study that we really would need an in-depth, you know, an in-depth study. You need a lot of time on it. You know, how would it be if you take, you know, newborn minds and you give them total freedom, you know, you encourage them, you nurture them, you instill all the things that I've spoke about, and then you can see, you know, what would happen. But emotions and, you know, these types of things are obviously having an influence on your intent. But again, you know, a lot of the emotions that people are experiencing are not based on anything true. They're based on delusions and lies. So I don't know if that answers the question. Oh, where am I? I've lost where I was there. Apologies, people. White Wedge, Jazzaconda, please don't be nasty. Absolutely no reason for him to be nasty, you know, unless he's he's upset because people are not buying his agenda anymore. Grey mushrooms, etc. better now that the mind is awakening, Del. Trust me. Well, maybe, you know, I'll wait until the autumn here when we get them growing naturally. So I might have a few. You know, I prefer them fresh. And I think when you process them, dry them, or put them into a juice, it kind of alters it. The best experiences I ever had was to pick them fresh, maybe, you know, 15, 20, 25 at a max, and I had a nice, pleasant experience. But obviously, I've had, varying levels. We've boiled, hundreds down into a gloop, and had an instantaneous experience. There's loads of different ways to it. But I'm gonna maybe give it a bash. I'll see how I feel the time the autumn comes. Albert Pierpoint, I took LSD 25 years ago, and when I lay down it looked like I was in a snow globe. Never thought anything of it at the time. It wouldn't surprise me. We could be in a sphere, but on a level plane within it. LSD had too many chemicals in it for me. It was always a different experience. There was some unpleasantries to go with it. Same as mushrooms, obviously. You're ingesting the poison. But it's not as long a process as LSD. Mushrooms, you can pretty much time your watch. That by the time you take it to the time you come out of it, it's going to be about 4 hours. Where LSD varied, it could be up to 12, 15, 18 hours. And it was just too much for me. And the strychnine or whatever that was in it, it could make you clench your jaw. Learn how to forest, nothing but love, Dale. Thank you. Thank you very much. Same to yourself, man. Appreciate it. Joseph Zio, I expect they will try to condition the masses first with flat earth before getting official. Yeah. I say the first year, I think there was a lot of information gathering on psychological reaction, the emotional reaction, people's responses. They had to build some data before they would see how people would accept it or where they could go with it. Yeah, man, I can't believe you just said that about LSD. I thought the same when I did years ago. Keith McLaren, Eric Dollard, Dale Hollow Sun, can't see it from free space. When energy wave from sun hit the atmosphere, it becomes light and heat. Yeah, I know of Eric Dollard and some of his work. Again, it's something for people to look into. Makes sense to me. I think on a mechanical level that it has to be some sort of part of a mechanical device in some way. Again, it's the problem. What is the sun? What we call the sun? Where is it exactly? These are all questions that are unanswered. Joseph Zio, can you imagine the chaos if it gets released too fast? Yeah, I think that would be the problem. If you just blurted it out in an instant, you would have, huge hysterical chaos. Disclosure would always have to be, implemented slowly. I think people are waiting for the ta-da moment where it's just on the news, bang. I think there's going to be a process before that will happen. And people like us, everybody here who takes part in it, comes to the realization, gets active with it, you all play a role in that happening sooner rather than later. Jimmy Graney, what is your star sign? I think it's the 20th of April, so Aries. I think it's right in between the two of them. Not that I've ever paid any attention to it, but 20th of the 4th, that's my birthday. Morgan Ellis, DMT equals communication with plants. Thought about that myself as well. There's certainly something going on. As I say, it's a study that has to be done. There's too many grey areas in it. There's nothing solid or concrete for us to really know what's happening. And people just think their subjective experience, and because it's so powerful, it was true. But dreams are the same. I can have fantastical dreams that are so powerful and real feeling. But are they real? Are they real somewhere? I mean, I don't know. Albert Pierpoint, floods your body before death, doesn't it? Maybe the prep for the next life, whatever it could be. I've heard that reported many times. That at death, you're flooded by the DMT. It could be you know, I don't want to get doom and gloom or anything, but you have to contemplate that it could just be a mechanism, a coping. You know, maybe he drifts you off into la la land and then it's lights out. I don't know. I don't want to think that. I've expressed that before. For me, I want there to be more. You know, I don't want this to be the end of experience. You know, I just don't like this place. You know, but Graham Earsdale, check out Terence McKenna lectures, very interesting. I have done, man, many years ago, and you know, I still did up until maybe 5 years ago. Terence was a great, you know, speaker and had very profound things to say, but again, a lot of it is based on he believes he lives in a globe, flying through infinite space, all these kind of things. So, as I've pointed out before, a lot of these philosophies and ideas that come from people are rooted in a false foundation, and they're rooted in confusion. So when you're trying to reason and come up with these, you know, ideas, if you know that it's based on you know, a false foundation, then you know there really isn't any weight to it. As far as his experiences of these DMT and stuff, people are talking about, then by all means, of course, check Terence McKenna out. And there's loads of others, you know, who will share their experiences. White Wedge, Jimmy, think Dale's a Pisces. I've never really delved into that whole star thing and what, you know, what it's meant to mean. The last I remember was Mystic Meg in the back of, you know, a fucking tabloid newspaper having a segment. You know, that is as far as my understanding of that goes. Obviously being involved in working, sharing the building with the Psychic Centre, they weren't just, you know, oh, star signs and Mystic Megs types. They were into tarot cards and, you know, all these fucking nonsense practices as far as I'm concerned. Lost where I was.
Oh, we've got a guest now eventually. Vigo's turned up. Vigo, you got anything to say, dude? So we're waiting a while for you.
Marshall, I don't know if he's there yet, but listen, mate, I really need to nick to the toilet for a piss, mate. You just...
Yeah, I'll hold the fort, mate. Yeah, if you are there, Vigo, can we do a mic check, mate, so I can hear you? Nothing. So maybe you need to sort that out. If you're still here, I'll get that photo loaded up, dude, so people can take a look at it. There are plenty of similar on the net already, but obviously you're interested in that one specifically. Lenny, I've mentioned the Sunday meetup at the Edinburgh Corn Exchange. And Dale's left me a bit on the hop here because monitoring this chat leaves you a little bit discordant as far as open conversation is concerned. Lossie, can we give that up now and stop shouting at everybody?
Can you hear me?
Vigo, you're there, dude. Yeah. I said earlier, man, did you have trouble picking it up?
Am I talking to, what animal is this?
This is Teen Foilat, mate.
Yeah, but the picture of the animal, what kind of animal is that?
It's me.
But is it an elephant or a zebra? What is that?
Does that look like an elephant to you, man?
Nah, it's trying to be funny.
Oh, right, okay. So which side of the fence are you on then, dude? Are you flat or round?
Well, I really don't know. I've seen enough with the flat earth stuff where I'd like to know more.
We'd all like to know more. That's why the platform's here, so people can discuss their opinions on what their perceptions are.
Yeah. So Dell's back.
Yeah. What did I miss?
Not a great deal. Vigo's just saying he's not committed as far as what his beliefs are or what his understanding is, and he's open to hear what people have to say. I said, well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Of course. So what did you have in your mind?
Well, I came across Eric Dubé's material in early 2015.
Yeah.
And it was the mind fuck of all mind fucks, pardon my language.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued, and I've been following and consuming a lot of flat earth arguments and information ever since. But I'm ill-equipped to finish the debate as to whether the earth is a ball, flat, triangle, or whatever. I'm not qualified is what I'm saying. So
What what qualifies you? What would require? What kind of qualifications you think you would require?
well, I'm not a physicist. I'm
With
not a
it-
geologist. I'm not an earth science person.
So, have any of these groups or factions offered that anything measurable in any way, shape, or form? Do you need? Do
Before
you
you
need
went
that?
to,
Do
you know what you said before you went to your little break there. I wasn't listening completely, but were you saying if they're releasing this, they can't just say it on the news to 7 billion people and say, hey, you know how we told you the earth was a giant spinning ball and we lived on the outside of it? Well, it's not really that. It's a flat plane, and it might be enclosed or it might be infinite.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Whether it's all at once or whether it's slow, 7 billion people aren't going to be able to handle being told
well,
that,
yeah.
hey, the earth, we lied to you. It's not a ball.
Well, that's a bit of a generalisation. You know, in 7 billion people, we don't. I don't know the percentage of people who are, totally convinced that it is a ball. You know, I mean, how many cultures has it reached? But getting back to your point, with the physicists and stuff, that's the beauty of this. Reality is something that you don't have to be qualified to, understand and observe. We share, every single one of us shares it. I don't need, unless it's a specialist field, dealing with a particular subject, then, reality in general, we can all experience every single day with our own common sense and senses, So I have a bit of an issue with, claiming that you have to have a PhD in order to establish what it is and what it's not. If somebody tells me that it's a sphere and that, vast bodies of water are clung to this sphere and that is reality, then I don't observe that anywhere in my reality, then there's a problem there. The onus isn't on me to somehow, prove what the full dimensions are. If I, experience and I realise that there's a flaw in the claim that's being made to me, then that's what's important. And I think, you only need your common sense faculties working in order for you to have that,
I hear what you're saying. I would say the first thing that ever got me down this rabbit hole was the whole 9/11 thing. So maybe about 10 months after that event actually took place, I started to research it online for whatever reason and came across information that maybe wasn't being spread on the mainstream news. And I was like, holy shit. So that was like my first kind of foray into the rabbit hole. And it's pretty crazy that however many years later here, I'm that's insane. The whole time I've always believed NASA, the moon landing. I would swallow everything they would say. I mean, I never looked into it intently, but I just assumed that they'd be telling us the truth.
Yeah, same as the rest is, Just people take it for granted. They never question it. It's the problem, Sorry guys, excuse me for 2 seconds again, I'll be back. 2 seconds.
Vargo, you're getting a lot of stick in the chat for your avatar, man. I mean, is that something that's important to you?
Well, I've got thick skin like Dell.
Well, that's cool. I'm just, giving you a heads up there, man. I did sort of ask you a question. Is it pertinent to you?
It's just a picture.
Right. It's a picture that's.
It's triggering to some people. I understand.
Yeah.
Apologies, people. So where are we? What are we saying?
We're just discussing the associations people put with images, dude, in relation to Vargo's avatar. People aren't very happy about that, and he's being rather evasive about what it represents to him, which is sort of what I was getting at. Is it of your nature to be provocative for constructive purposes, or?
I just rather have a picture than my face. I'm not the best looking individual.
So, what would convince you then if you're on the fence in regards to, do you still struggle thinking that it is a sphere we live on?
I'm in the position to think. I was telling the other guy here that I fully believed. Well, I guess you're here too, but I also was bought into the whole Virgin Galactic, where that was going to send supposedly people up 100 kilometers, and you're going to be able to experience some weightlessness and see some of the. I believe that. I was a big fan of Richard Branson, but it doesn't look like that's ever going to be happening.
No. How are you going to take people up and show them an imaginary curve?
Well, no, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I bought into that before I ever heard of the flat Earth.
Yeah.
And I was someone who was caught in that dream or vision, and I was like, wow, yeah, that'd be cool. First the rich people are going to get to go on it, and then the price will come down in 10, 15 years time, and then maybe it'll be within my range to pay to go check that out.
Right.
But now it doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Regards to your symbol thing, and that's it for me. I understand that it'll be provocative to people, but for me, I have no, attachment to any symbol. It's up to me to define what a symbol means to me. People shouldn't be, generalising, but I get that it will be provocative to some people. So, I mean, you say that you're unconvinced. Are you still on the fence?
Well, I have to take Dell's approach, right?
Right.
A natural science dude. So yeah. That's what I was saying. Or yeah, I should have finished my thought on the Virgin Galactic. I'm a visual person. If that was going to be a legit thing and someone could take me up high enough where I could see with my own eyes a pronounced curvature to the Earth, then I'd say okay. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And even on that website, maybe that's the only value virtual. If you go onto that website, they say that maybe only 550 people have been classified as astronauts, where they've been high enough up from the Earth where they've been classified as astronauts.
Yeah.
People. out of 7 billion and however any more people that lived before that, 550. So like 99.99999999999% of all humanity has never been high enough to see the ball Earth if it's a ball.
So, and according to them, where they're firing rockets up willy-nilly with guitars and monkey suits and, you know, American football tops and docking no problem, like it's fucking all Star Trek and nothing ever goes wrong. You know, if they're achieving that the way they say, then you think, you know, public travel and that way would be easy. You'd think there would be loads of companies now just for the fun of just flying up into the vacuum of space and then back down again. You know, I don't think that's hard to achieve, really, is it? According to how they make it. As I say, you know, let's just fire a fucking rocket up. Oh, what do you need? A guitar and a monkey suit? No problem. We'll be there in the next couple of days. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Absolute fucking nonsense. And it's totally bizarre that people believe that shit, you know. But as I say, that's, for me, Star Trek, fucking Deep Space Nine, Star Wars, all these fucking crazy programs is how they've managed to convince people slowly by implementing it, you know. And then as technology get better, it was, oh, it's just a matter of fact, you know, let's dock up to a 17,500 miles an hour station, fucking latch on, no problem, no problems any time whatsoever. You know, fucking away you go. You know what I mean? If we could really achieve that type of stuff, you know, why is it not being implemented here on Earth? Fuck these numpties and whatever they're up to, you know, because they're no benefiting me or anybody else. You know, they're just liars. The sooner they're brought down, the better. So nobody's gone up in a rocket anywhere to see any curvature. And if you do see a curvature, it's certainly not going to be the Earth, because the Earth's covered in water, right? And we know that it's no curving anywhere. If it is curving, it's a waterfall you're seeing, right? So maybe the edge is a huge fucking waterfall. That'll be the only curve.
It really is batshit insane.
Yeah.
It wasn't that many years ago where on YouTube I watched some sort of documentary. I'll call it a mockumentary now, but it was some sort of, I don't know if the BBC produced it or what, but it was something showing the ISS and making it like it was legitimate and everything. And I watched that and I was like, wow, holy shit. Yeah. I mean, I heard of this thing, the ISS, and wow, there's always like 6 astronauts on that thing at a time, and it's orbiting around Earth. I forget how many times they said it's supposed to go around the Earth. I think it's 90 minutes. So whatever that is divided into 24. And I was just like, holy shit, that's insane. Here I am, down in my home, and people are up there doing science, advancing mankind, and it blew my mind. And then I would be driving in my car downtown and everything, and be like looking up in the sky and be like, wow, the ISS might be flying over me right now. And then boom, Eric motherfucking Dubé, early 2015, and now all this shit, I don't know. ISS, like you said, monkey suits. I'm finally like looking at it critically. Monkey suits. You got some dude, some jerk off playing the bagpipes there. Like, really, who the hell would be bringing bagpipes up to the ISS and doing a show and tell for people, playing the? I love the bagpipes, but you would think you would have better things to do than play the bagpipes in space.
I've just swept people up with the emotion of the whole thing, you know, where if you get people like me that are, you know, into mechanics and how things operate, they're going, well, you know, where's the footage and the intricate details of how you've constructed this thing? Shows you putting it together. Where is all that kind of information, you know, on how these mechanics actually work? And that's not there, you know, but we'll just forget about all that. Look, playing the bagpipes, you know, oh, I'm introducing Adele with a fucking, you know, music award, and you know, it's just all emotional manipulation they use. There's nothing factual, there's nothing substantial, anything you can get your teeth into in regards to proving to yourself that these things are actually happening and real. They're not real as far as I'm concerned. You know, just total nonsense. as I say, the further down the road you get, the more clear it becomes of how cartoony and idiotic the whole thing actually is. Yeah. It's sad that people are so dumbed down that they accept this stuff.
So I haven't watched all the space walk footage or whatever, but of some of the stuff that I have seen, it looks like they had a dune buggy or something at one time, and they were driving around on the surface of the moon in a dune buggy. They were playing golf on the moon, and God knows what else. So it's like just like the footage on the ISS. It's all such a laugh. If it was all such a laugh, if they got to the moon several times, what is it, 6 times between 1969 and 1972, and it was all such a laugh that they could play golf and drive a dune buggy on the surface of the moon, how the fuck have they never gone back, at least publicly? It's insane. I can't believe I never questioned this shit.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is plugged in to some sort of matrix or something. It really is. How do people not say that that is fucking weird?
Yeah. They are plugged in, they're plugged into the delusions and the lies and the nonsense. You know, the matrix is not a physical thing out there that you can touch. It's in people's minds. You know? You just have to get critical about it. And that's it. You know, as soon as you point out, you know, valid questions to people, their critical thought will kick in, and then they will assess it and have a look at it and ask themselves the same questions. It's just because they've taken it for granted so easily and fell into it so deeply that they just become unquestioning and take it for granted that it is actually true and happening, until you get people who are brave enough to come along and point at it and say, hang on, you know, have you questioned this? So that's what it takes.
And then so another bit of information, I don't know if this is completely accurate or factual. I'm not a computer scientist, but it sounds right on the surface. So whatever version of iPhone we have now, it's got loads of processing power, supposedly, right? A smartphone, an iPhone. So they say that the latest iPhone would be more powerful, that processor, than the supercomputer NASA would have had in 1969. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So again, you would think with all this computing power that NASA would be able to tap into, that publicly you should be able to get back to the moon at a fraction of the cost with all the simulations you could be doing and orbital calculations you'd be able to do it all on the computer and run all different simulations and models and designs and material experiments and everything. You think that this would be reduced to the fraction of a cost of whatever it costed them in 1969. It boggles the mind.
Yeah. Again, that's it. It's just when you logically point something like you just have it to people. You know, it's so simple. And it does boggle the mind that people became so dumbed down and accepting of it, you know, without questioning. Now that's the intriguing part for me, is how they achieved that and got people to that level, you know. And for me, it would just be a test, you know, it would a test. Well, people are buying this, they're believing it, right? Yeehaw. You know, as long as we advance the technology and graphics and filming, you know, then we've got them. You know, and that's the power of it. You know, people were TV being new, and then the trial runs to see what people would buy into, how they could affect people. You know, they started to gather information very quickly on how gullible people would be in regards to the TV. You know, especially if you can establish an authority, and then when that authority then appears through the TV, people are going to take it even more. You know, coupled with the emotional excitement and reactions of what, you know, godly achievements. You know, that's enough. The power of the image and, you know, shouting it loud enough is enough to sway people.
That's why I think the most important thing about all this, it's more from a psychological standpoint than anything. It's how herds and social species work. And because I studied in school psychology.
Can I just, sorry, I just want to jump in there. You know, we're
Yeah.
studying people based on being in captivity, based on coming from generations of no foundation, not knowing who they are. We're trying to assess how people would be based on that fear structure, disempowering structure. We're not judging people based on, you know, being empowered, being critical individuals, being strong mentally, healthily, and being totally free. So I think, you know, psychology, for me, I figured it out a long time ago, that it was based purely on the cultural aspect, depending on what a person's culture was. You know, you could be a psychologist for them, you know, because they're programs, they're something that are not real. They're offered and put to people, and when you understand that, you know the problems that people are going to have. Sorry for interjecting, but...
So what always comes to my mind is there's some famous psych experiment that everyone learns in Psych 101. I forget the psychologist's name that it's named after, but it's basically you got one guy and maybe like 5 or 6 other people, but they're paid so they know what's going on. And they show the first 5 or 6 people a sheet of paper with varying lengths of lines, right?
Yeah, I've done a bit on this. Yeah.
And they say, what's the longest or what's the shortest line, right? And everyone that comes before the one guy who doesn't know that he played for a fool, everyone before knowingly answers incorrectly.
Yeah.
And then the last guy, when it gets to him, like maybe the first couple of times, he'll say correctly what his senses are telling him, right?
Yeah.
But it's going against what everyone else said.
Yeah, and then the pressure of that sway the group makes it conform. It's called the Ash experiments. I've done a video on this before. It's ASCH. Hang on.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it is. I remembered it as soon as you. It's ASCH experiment, Ash experiment. That is exactly what you're talking about.
So you can see the first couple of times, even when he's still has the balls to say what he thinks is right, you can see he's visibly upset. Yeah. He's feeling like angst and inner turmoil.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you just cave in and you go along. And they've probably done further research at this point into it. But the question is, does the guy in successive rounds, does he know inside which is the right answer, but he's just like conforming? Has the peer pressure of the group actually physically changed his senses to how he perceives the information to go along with the group, so that he doesn't get ostracized? This is exactly what we are dealing with, not just the flat earth, but everything that is attached to this.
Yeah, that's it.
All this stuff.
It's not that they're altering his senses. He knows deep down that his senses are correct, but it's just that pressure of just going with the flow, and then putting doubt upon yourself, and then that's the first step to doubting what it is you're actually experiencing. Because if 4 guys are saying they see something different from what you are, then that's going to create internal doubt, to then send you on a path of doubt in your own senses. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot to be said for those experiments. The Ash experiments, for anybody who missed it, ASCH. Still there?
Yeah. So it just makes me think that this whole, if this flat earth is legit or not, if it is legit, it just makes me feel like even with as time goes by, I don't know if it'll ever hit the critical mass threshold thing, because 9/11 that there was all sorts of information that you could get, some legit, some disinfo, but it didn't take a rocket scientist if you looked into 9/11 to see that the official story was leaving a lot of stuff out, and nothing ever came of it. Legit investigation happened from that, and it's just nothing happened. So it just seems like
that's the point. You know, I want to get back to you saying, you know, this flat earth thing, whether it's legitimate or not. You know, the legitimate part for me is that indeed it's not a globe. The globe is brought into serious question. For me, it's falsified. What we're living on is, you know, a level plane. Whatever the full dimensions of that is unknown. Now, the unlegitimate part is the claims that are made to any specific model and map. That is the part that's not legitimate. So if it keeps up with the straw men and people keep adopting the straw men and the nonsensical stuff, then it will grind to a halt and slow down and not go anywhere. But if people can cut right through the bullshit, you know, and get to the meat and bones of the situation, then it will gain traction. You know? And for me, that's the part that does gain traction. Focus on the claim that was made. You know, I mean, how anybody can seriously believe that it is a sphere with absolutely zero proof, again, beggars belief, just as you were saying earlier on. You know, so you know, everything tells us that it's a level plane, and what the full dimensions are unknown, and it's as simple as that. I'm on this live thing. You're just doing that to get annoying, aren't you? Aye. Sorry, I'm being infiltrated here.
yeah.
It's a takeover. You're right. You want to say hi? Right, you need to go out.
Hey, come on, babe. Sorry.
Knows there's something happening. Sorry about that.
I had a thought, and now I forgot.
Yeah.
The dimensions. Yeah. Okay. So how do you go on? So you do these street interviews, right?
Yep.
And you go up to these people, and I gave you some flack earlier. And you say, "How's your day going? I'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you know about natural science?" Right?
Shite Scottish accent, by the way. You need to really work on that. That's
yeah. Well,
I mean, if I can do an American one, I mean, you know, it's not, man, I mean, you know, it don't sound totally ridiculous, you know. I mean,
yeah.
fucking work on it for fuck's sake, you know.
Yeah. So you go to these people and you say, "Do you know natural science? Are you familiar with natural science?" Right?
Yeah.
And then you segue into how do you know what you know, and all this jazz. Saying to them whether they live on a ball or not, this is beyond batshit insane. I still can't believe I'm on a hangout talking to Dell about this, and I've been exposed to this now for over 2 years. So even me, I still every day I can't believe that I don't buy the ball and all this space stuff anymore, you know, until I get further proof. So just stopping someone on the city streets of Glasgow or Edinburgh and talking to these people, even if something sinks in momentarily, I don't think these people go home, and this is extremely unsettling.
Well, it can be for some people, you know, and I'm totally aware of that. But you know, the other
90% of people are how do you go on if you're working as some higher up professional like a medical doctor, or you're some big shot lawyer or something, and you get exposed? How do you go on with your life saying, "Man, do we not live on a ball? Is space fake?"
with some people it's not really important to them. As I say, there's so many people who are quite content with the life that they have. But at the same turn, you know, what are you supposed to do? You know, there's many people who understand there's questions being asked, legitimate questions. You know, and at the same time, we've just to sit back, ignore it, let everybody get on with it, while children are being told lies in schools and universities. I mean, you know, how else are you going to approach it? That's the problem with this whole thing. It's like, you know, unestablished ground. You know, for me, this has never happened before. I've not known that it's happened before. So, you know, for us to know exactly what we're supposed to do and what we're trying to achieve is, again, preposterous. It's just as preposterous as is expected to come up with, you know, a full explanation of where we are. For me, it's an ongoing thing that I just deal with day to day. And I just know in my heart that I've got this determination to tell as many people, to plant as many seeds. And for me, having it in the consciousness of as many people as possible further advances the chances of me finding out really where I am. You know, so each to their own. You know, I'm on my path. This is how I see it. This is where I see progress, and that's all I can be true to. You know, where it's going to end up and where it's going to go, I don't know. Is it going to fizzle out? Are people just not going to be interested? Who knows? But that's not my concern. My concern is where my intent and my focus is from each moment in time. And right now, it's on this. I understand the significance of it. I'm not a lawyer who's got a cushy job and a nice delusion to comfort me. My life never took that path. So.
No, but exactly. So for these sort of people who are trying to like climb the corporate ladder or whatever, and gain financial success and get admiration and respect from society, for them, even if they're bright, smart people and they're in university and whatnot, because I've talked to some of my friends that were from university and some of the brightest people I know, and I've tried to pass the branch or the torch of flat earth type of information to them. And, you know, it takes a few attempts. And even if you break through kinda, and they say, yeah, these people bring up some interesting points, they don't really further, do you know what I'm saying? Because it pulls the rug out completely of what they've been taught.
If their focus, their intention is invested in their own dreams or their own ambition, then it's not going to matter what I say to them. You know, when I'm speaking to people in the street, you know, it's to show people how you can approach your fellow man. And also at the same turn, if I plant a seed in somebody who's a questioner, who's looking at these things, or then, you know, it's job done. You know, and if it's somebody who just ignores it and gets on with their life, then, you know, by all means, it's really no problem to me. I can only be me, and as I say, push what I push. And if somebody takes it and they do the research themselves and they come to it, then fine. If somebody thinks that they were happy chasing an ambition, they speak to us, their whole world's turned upside down, they start looking at life differently, their ambitions then change, their priorities change, then it's still a positive. You know, you're really either going to affect people to the point of change, or you're just going to get people who will ignore what you say. That's just the reality of the situation.
I do like the picture that you employ now of Nessie.
Yeah.
Because that can connect with the Scottish folk.
Yeah.
Because they'll laugh and be like, the Loch Ness monster. Yeah, right. You just show me that grainy black and white photograph and be like, no, that's not scientific. I need more than that to believe in that, right?
Yeah.
And then you show them the blue marble, and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. If they're honest, if they're intellectually honest with themselves, they realise it, you know, and they'll admit, no, based on the logic we've just agreed upon, you know, it's not scientific proof. So my aim with that is just to remove that for the whole thing altogether, you know, but it doesn't matter what NASA produce, you know, it's never going to count as anything measurable. You know, we've established that, you know, I can produce images of anything. I could probably get somebody to produce me images of realistic looking unicorns. You know, and then I can claim that only me and my 500 buddies have access to this realm where these unicorns exist, but we have special camera equipment that we can take with us and take video footage, so therefore believe us. Now, that's absolutely preposterous. And if you can point that out to people and get them to concede to that, then you've removed the biggest influence in their consciousness, which is images. You know, because they don't constitute as or count as measurable, testable, observable, and repeatable. You know, it results as it becomes very obvious that it's religion. Because
So
you believe it.
supposedly they've got more than one rover on Mars. And the most recent rover there, the Mars Curiosity rover, that was launched on some rocket in 2012, early 2012, and then I think it supposedly was supposed to land on Mars August 2012, and it's what, 2017, and the last I heard, still alive and ticking on Mars, doing science, collecting spices. And you would think, I don't care if it's the third version of the rover, you would think at some point all these freaking things would break down.
Yeah,
Who's the mechanic on Mars to fix this shit?
yeah, it's some fucking shit hot engineering and fucking remote controlling. I mean, geez, oh, how many million miles? Fucking fantastical. But that's what I'm saying. You know, that they've coupled it with, you know, movies and TV programs to slowly but surely, you know, seep it into people's consciousness that that's achievable and real. You know, and then because they can say, oh, look, you know, the mobile phone, you know, that was in Star Trek or whatever the fuck it is, you know, then, you know, they can just extrapolate into lies. If you can give people one truth, give them that connection, then they'll just believe all the other shit you throw at them. You know?
So I talked about this sort of stuff with my brother-in-law because he had actually been one of these people who questioned the moon landing and didn't believe in it. And he started doubting that. He told me in 1999, around then, like, wow, why didn't you tell me this much earlier? So once he told me that, and I looked into it and was blown away and thinking, well, how come I never questioned it either? So then I talked to him about flat Earth and, like I said, the Mars Curiosity rover crap, because he's a mechanic and he's handy with all sorts of stuff, not just cars. So I said the same thing that I said to you and these other people, where they would think critically of these rovers on Mars and how could they be there for years in an alien environment and huge temperature fluctuations and sandstorms and all this shit, and with no mechanics or maintenance crew there. Complex piece of machinery and computer equipment and lasers and sensors and cameras, and it never like completely just fucking breaks down. You know what I'm saying? I said this to him and he's like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, of course not.
And then when I said the flat Earth to him, like it took me a few times, and I showed him the most conventional model for the flat Earth thing that's going around, and I said, okay, well, they're saying that you could just circumnavigate this flat circular plane thing where you could just fly around in a circle, sail around in a circle, and your compass the whole time points north, and you come back to the same point, and it would probably feel like you went around a ball, but you could go around this circle thing here and it would feel like the same thing. And he's like, holy shit. Because that was the first thing that that one thing for circumnavigating, when I first heard that, I was like, holy shit. I had never even thought of that.
Yeah. Even, you know, people get on these ships and stuff over a vast ocean or, you know, distance when you have nothing to reference it, you can feel as if you're going in a straight line. And you're not going in a straight line. You could be slightly, turning 1 degree. You'll never know. So you just as being a passenger. Obviously, if you're navigating, you know that you're. But just to bring that point up, about these maps and models, I actually sent a family member a question if they had ever witnessed the 24-hour sun while living in Sweden, and they've reported back to me saying yes, they have, which I thought was very interesting. Somebody who's got absolutely no reason to lie to me. So brings about questions now about this whole straight line. What's the sun actually doing? It's kind of brought more questions to me in regards to what's going on with these luminaries.
Yeah, no, I've like they said, the model that they're showing, the main one right now, where the sun, they're saying, makes circles between Capricorn and Cancer. I forget which one is which, but it stays within those bounds. And I know where I am. I've been trying to, over the last few years or whatever, keep track of the sun, and it does seem to like I'm in the northern hemisphere or plane, whatever. I don't know what you're supposed to call it now, but I can tell that in the summertime where I am in the north, that on that model, the flat circular model there, the sun does seem to be making, if it's going over us, tighter circle around where north is pointed. And when it's winter time, so like December, the sun is making a larger circle. Like I can see where it rises and where it sets, and the circle is further away from me south in the winter time, and closer towards me north in the summertime. So I can see that. That's not necessarily proving anything, but when I track that for myself, right, and looked at that model, what people are saying about what the sun's doing, I was like, huh, no shit, that's interesting.
Yeah. But again, the sun could be, moving in a sequence of straight lines. It could be moving in a square path for all I know. Again, when I look at these, especially the circular models, it's never represented in a scale that looks realistic to me. They always show this circle with this massive sun and go, oh, you would see the sun. You have to make it a lot smaller. If you went with that circle map that shows you the sun, would almost be, you wouldn't even see it. If you were to put it at the scale. But again, what is the sun? I just found it interesting that, I know somebody now who has witnessed the 24-hour thing in the north. So it's opened up some more questions for me. Whether it lends any validity to any of these map model, I don't know. I still, the full exploration has to be done. We still don't know what any of these luminaries are. We're taking it for granted that they are solid-bodied objects, still carrying for the heliocentric babble over into the new questions and what people are trying to reason, still based on false premises. For me, I need to know exactly what these things are before we can start assessing the motion. What are they?
So related to what I said about I studied psychology and everything. So they try to teach you in psych and neuroscience the mechanics of how all your different senses work. So obviously your vision. So they talk about that perspective and the converging lines and everything to the vanishing point on the horizon and everything. And I remember learning this, but it never like clicked or dawned on me to ever think, well, wait a minute, maybe the Earth's flat.
Yeah.
The sun is way smaller and closer than they're telling us, and that's how it could set on a flat plane.
Yep.
And when I saw that, information from Eric Dubé or whoever. I also watched. Do you know Stinky Cash?
Yeah, but again, you know, I don't even know if the sun moves upwards and downwards.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I don't know. I don't know all this. I'm not. I know you
Oh.
don't subscribe to any one model this way or not. I'm just telling you how I was experienced this information and got to wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
So whatever the conventional model is that they're releasing here to us for the flat Earth, I watched Stinky Cash. If you know that guy's channel,
Yeah.
He has a pretty good video that talks about perspective and the converging lines in the horizon and all that. I like his video on that. And when I watched that, I was just like, God damn, man. This is getting interesting.
well, we have it here in this platform as well. You know, Gav's done some good work, and there's more coming on natural perspective. You know, talking exactly about that. You know, convergence and lines and perspective and how it works. It's called the Inquiry into Natural Perspective. So, you know, it's very interesting. You know, it's always been there. You know, that's what I said before. You know, we have this balancing, almost like an internal gyroscope that starts from a level plane. You know, and that's how you have that balance. You know, there's an up, down, left, right, in every other direction, and you sense that, and you feel that, and you apply it every day. You know, in your everyday life. And for me, that can only begin from, you know, that level plane. So to then say, oh no, but you really own a sphere, I mean, it just breaks down. It's nonsense. Where there's no up, no down, you know, left, no right. It's all relative. Everybody's in their own individual little bubble, and reality is an abstract mathematical construct that only appears that way in your mind. Fucking new age babble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the other one. Is your sense of orientation and balance and up and down in your inner ear.
Yeah.
It's a collection of different instruments where together it's called the vestibular system. And yeah, that just seems crazy that you would think that if you were going around the ball and you lived in Scotland, let's say you lived in Edinburgh your whole life and then you flew to America, you'd think that you'd be feeling just like your circadian rhythm, right? You get jet lag and stuff or whatever when you're traveling internationally across time zones. How come that doesn't apply to your sense of orientation when you're flying across the curve to different parts of the globe, and you need a couple of days before your sense of up and down and left and right gets acclimated? It makes no sense.
If I stood you blindfolded on a levitating flat level board, and I slightly moved it in any direction, or tilted it in any direction, your internal gyroscope would be telling you. You would feel that, and you would know it. You know.
It's just crazy, Del. You seem like a pretty genuine dude.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre that I'm even having this conversation.
Why is it bizarre?
I don't know. And going over the curve, like I was like the biggest geography fan as a little kid. There was a TV show in North America called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And I would watch that and know all the capitals of all the countries and the names of rivers, prominent rivers and seas and mountains. And I knew like all the different areas for different commodities and minerals and all this stuff. But I traveled a lot as a kid, but I would never ever think when I'm flying from one place to the next long distances, it never entered my mind. I'm going over some curve. Maybe I'm not high enough to see it. Curve, man.
Yeah.
I never ever thought of this, and I don't think anyone does.
No.
It's batshit insane, Del. Do you hear me?
That's it, mate. You know, and they can't say, oh, this part just appears to be flat and level. As Antonio pointed out, it was a good point that he made. You know, at what point does it start to curve? You know, it's got to be curving instantly from every point, every direction at the point that you're at. You know, you can't say, oh, well, this bit here's all flat. So when does it? So we'll get flat bits and curvy bits. So it's really a crazy shaped fucking sphere we're living on here. You know, it's nonsense. The curve should be in every direction, 360 degrees. It's no, nobody accounts for it. You never experience it. You've never witnessed it anywhere. So why the fuck does anybody believe it? You know.
I was in the summertime, I traveled to an island in the Caribbean that I've been to several times, but I was now traveling there with this sort of information and revelation in my head. So I was on the coast, so I was on this island, and I was staying like in a house on a hill with an ocean view, and you could see miles from left to right. And when the wind wasn't blowing, yeah, I mean the sea was flat as fuck.
Yeah, of course it is. That's how water behaves. It's just as it should be.
And flying over it, like flying into the island, flying out of the island. I recorded video on my cell phone out of the window. And when I flew, I live around a Great Lake. I'm not going to say which, but an airport along one of the Great Lakes in North America, where a lot of this noise is going on, where you can see miles and miles on the lake level, like that Chicago skyline or something. You know what I'm saying? Where they're like, "Oh, look, you can see the skyline of Chicago."
Yeah.
So when I was flying back into there, I could know where, you know, there's one side of the Great Lake, and I'm landing on the other side, and I'm getting all this footage on my cell phone camera. And before, I would fly in there all the time and never think of this before. And now I was like looking out the window intently, and I'm like, well, you can see, they can supposedly see across the lake down there, and I'm up here, you know, 30,000 feet or whatever, and I'm looking at it, bending whatsoever. And if it's flat down there and it's flat up here, you know, it's like, how high do you have to be before you get to see any sort of curve?
That's it.
And that's why it's like, makes me all the more interested. It's like, hello, Richard Branson, Virgin Galactic. If what you were selling was legit, like let's go with it. Who cares if someone might die? You would,
yeah.
Some rich person. There's plenty of multimillionaires and billionaires in today's world.
That should be taking a leaf out of NASA's books, because every time they send people up, they have no problem whatsoever. So
yeah,
it should be well achievable, you know.
Yeah.
So, Vigo, you need to excuse me, guys. I need to go to the toilet again. Drinking fucking tea and juice. 2 minutes.
Well, I go down to you and me do. So you seem to be causing quite a stir in the chat box, man. You've been accused of being Tim Osman and what's he called? Infinite Plane?
IPS, Infinite Plane Society, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Are you going to refute any of those claims, mate? Or
No, I'm definitely not IPS.
But you might be Tim Osman, is that right?
Well, I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. No, cool. I'm just joking with you, dude. People jump to any amount of conclusions, and because we live in a world of differing personalities, not everybody's got the same opinion on those personalities. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Well, I'm not paying attention to if there's a chat going on. I'm not. I haven't been looking at it.
Oh, well, you're not missing too much, dude.
But controversy is what sells and what brings people to things like these. Controversy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you got to shake it up a little bit, dude. Yeah. You have to excuse me because I'm actually moderating some of the chat as well at the same time, so my attention's split.
You and I can manufacture a conflict right now to keep things exciting for those people.
Yeah, it's not in my nature to do that.
All right, guys.
Yeah, all cool, Doug.
So, Del, was that you who got the footage for that most recent video you uploaded today?
No, that
Were
was
you-
John.
Okay.
That was John.
Yeah, because I spent some time in Edinburgh, so I'm quite familiar with the university and the meadows.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we were there before. One of the earlier street interviews was at the same place.
It's a great city, Edinburgh.
Well, some people would think so.
Have you been on the top of Arthur's Seat? I'm guessing yes.
No.
No.
No. There's loads of places I've been.
It would be nice if that person would have himself a wee climb and go go on the top of Arthur's Seat and do an Arthur's Seat interview on flat Earth and be like, "Look at the North Sea from here. Look, it's flat."
Well, that's one of the plans, is to go, hill walkers up mountain ranges, and point these things out to people. It's another thing I would encourage people to do. Seaside's a great one. It's one I intend to use as well. You can highlight the properties, behaviour of water, and show it in the receptacles leading up to the ocean, and then ask them why they would think it behaves any differently on a larger scale. Simple observations. They are the great. That's why it will be so much more powerful when the weather's good, because you can get people while they're there and they have the natural observation right in front of them. And it's much more powerful, as I've seen, happening before when we've had a body of water in front of us. Thomas, I think the guy's name was, he got it right away. You're pointing that out to him and you're saying to him, the behaviour of that. Why would you think it's any different on a larger scale? And they realise, they go, well, it wouldn't be. So right away you're getting them with that natural observation, and it's powerful. So I'm sure John already has footage from there. I'm pretty sure John's been to Arthur's Seat. So aye, be good. Once the weather gets really good, and you're comfortable at these altitudes and stuff higher up, and it's no freezing cold. A good opportunity.
And along with the curve, where no one ever thinks about the curve when they're flying and traveling long distances, the other thing no one thinks about, even though we got told this, was we're spinning. Like, who the hell ever thinks, yeah, we're spinning when you walk outside to do anything? No one's ever thinking, yeah, we're spinning. We're on the side of a ball and we're spinning.
Yeah. So just
Like,
pointing at natural observations.
if you play cricket, I guess, if you're in the UK, that game, if the ball gets hit up or you throw it straight up, how come you don't spin away from the cricket ball or whatever?
Yeah. Well, they will invoke the Coriolis effect when this pleases them. They can't have it every way. Should be affecting everything that leaves the Earth's surface. Marshall, how's things? Is anybody else asking to come in? Bigo, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
I stopped sending the link a while ago, Dal, because you said you were wrapping up shortly. So I think everybody's under the impression we're going to call it a day, man.
All right, cool. I'd sent Gav a link there. I forgot to do it earlier. I don't know if he's going to appear here. See what's happening in the chat.
Gav's disappeared from the chat, so I think he might be busy.
Cool. Is there any questions coming in the chat?
Not for a moment, dude. There's
No.
a lot of
My attention's back on the chat if anybody has any questions. Knowledge Scavenger, Brad Lee, Yvette, the Morgile, how you doing? Annette Holman, Anita Holman, Richard Clark, Alex Davis, Smug Cockazoid, Dale the Cricketer. Say cricket in Scotland. It's just not a popular thing up here at all. Up here, across here. What about the troll activity? Any of them are appearing?
well, a few.
A few. The
Yeah.
usual suspects.
It looks like it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to catch up with this. Now, if nobody's asking, I'm going to call it a day shortly, but I'm just wanting to see if anybody's asking any questions here in the chat. Oh, I catch up. Billy, Sunday nice hangout there. We support all you do. Cheers, Billy. As long as I keep representing the truth, then support it. When Scotland was Jewish DNA evidence archaeology. Good afternoon, Dale. Sorry I missed it. I had to run out. Any probs of it? Jeff Goldblum, do we know nothing about our creator in reality and all the books are made up? No, I don't have any proof of any creator. Why does it always come down to a creator? That bothers me. You know, why people can't perceive that it could be something different. It always has to come down to one singular thing. Stone Tar, Eric Dubai is in the chat. How's it going? I've not seen him. Covered water. Dale, why do you misrepresent the vacuum atmosphere in your argument? What do you mean misrepresent it? You know, it is what it is. It's either a vacuum or it's not a vacuum. If you're claiming that it's a vacuum against a positive pressure system, right, then how is that misrepresenting it? That is the claim, is it not? You know, we don't observe any of this. Go to a vacuum chamber, get a globular rock, get water, get all the things that you need, an atmosphere, get it all to fucking stick to your rock in the vacuum. You know, don't tell me I'm misrepresenting the claim. You know, that is the claim.
Had several calls this afternoon to make people aware of the solar tracking that's happening on Antonio Subratz's channel on Saturday.
Cool. Replica, where did it go? Every time I touch that, it scoots to the bottom. Where the hell was I? Sun tracking with Antonio Saturday, Sunday. Unfortunately, here in Scotland, it is very difficult to ever see the sun. And it's horrible because there's observations I would like to do coming up through this summer, spring and summer, where I want to see if my shadow ever points to a southerly direction. You know, I want to try and see a bit of motion myself. There's some questions I've got. Last year I had caught at midnight looking north. I'm pretty sure I was looking north. This is why I want to do it again, because I never noted my directions and stuff. But it was midnight. I could see daylight in the distance. Now, according to time and date, the sun had been up in Sydney, Australia for 2 hours. It was 9:15 AM there. The sun had been up for 2 hours already, yet I can still see daylight. So I've got some questions and things I'm going to be doing myself. But Unfortunately, sun tracking, to depend on anybody in Scotland, is fucking ridiculous. Well, Edinburgh seems always to be okay, so maybe if you can get somebody in Edinburgh. How do you deal with all of the negative stuff? It's water off a duck's back. As I say, it's not a personal thing. It's about the objective reality. So, the negativity and the stuff that comes towards me is nothing. It's just even more proof that there is a effort to, keep people in ignorance. It's easy. I split a bottle of Buckfast on the lino and it was level. Well, if it wasn't flowing anywhere, it must have been level. One and Above Productions, thank you. Dave Finkel, cheers, man. Sorry, there we had a debate here. We forget the chat. Sorry, well, it's not a debate. I'm going to go to the bottom here because I'm obviously miles away. Dale, what education standard do you have in regards to the government programming centre that I went to? I never swallowed any of their fucking pish. And that's exactly what I call it. It was a government programming centre. It was not a school. And anybody who wants to come at you with what's your qualifications, it's not a rebuttal. It's not producing measurable curvature or any proof of any of these claims that are made by the heliocentric model. It matters not what my background is or what qualifications, whatever they want to call it. It matters not. It's not a rebuttal on anything, and it's not proof of anything. Eric, how you doing? See you there now. Rock Vibrations, Keanu Collis, Chris Rock, Trev Dawson. Lottie says none then. Lol, lol, lol. I don't know if you're listening to what I actually said. Bring a rebuttal or proof of some claim. Let's start focusing on the man. Simple logical fallacy. Right? We're dealing with objective reality here. Right? Can't I believe that these clowns still try these angles? Honestly. Anyway, thanks to everybody who's appeared in chat, taken part. Been a pleasure as always. I'll be back Saturday. Sorry, Gav, if you're listening, mate. I thought I'd sent the thing out, but I hadn't to the end there. But it'll be good to get Gav on talk. Cheers. Eric Dubai here. We love you, Dale. Best letters shown in it. Thanks very much, Eric. Appreciated. If that is you, I'm not sure. Chibi Jedi. Anyway, people, that's enough. Take it easy. Peace. See you on Saturday.